It's time for Ask the Tech Guys, a rare Saturday edition. I'm Leo Laporte. Coming up in just a bit, I'll show you some ways you can get music out of your computer and into your ears.
And I'm Mikah, Sargent, and I'm going to show you how you can extract files from your iPhone or iPad backup.
Plus, why you shouldn't pick up a USB key sitting in your parking lot and stick it in your computer. A look at BadUSB. All coming up next on Ask the Tech Guys.
Podcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is TWiT.
This is Ask the Tech Guys, episode 1961. Recorded Saturday, February 11th, 2023. Not my hot tub, buddy. This episode of Ask the Tech Guys brought to you by 8 Sleep. Good sleep is the ultimate game changer, and the pod cover is the ultimate sleep machine. Go to 8sleep.com/twit to check out the pod cover and save $150 at checkout. 8 Sleep currently ships within the U.S., Canada, the U.K., and select countries in the EU and Australia. And by Melissa, over 10,000 clients worldwide in industries like retail, education, healthcare, insurance, finance, and government. Rely on Melissa for full-spectrum data quality and ID verification software. Make sure your customer contact data is up to date. Get started today with 1,000 records cleaned for free at melissa.com/twit. Thanks for listening to this show. As an ad-supported network, we are always looking for new partners with products and services that will benefit our qualified audience. Are you ready to grow your business? Reach out to advertise@twit.tv and launch your campaign now. Well, hey, hello, everybody. Oh, here we are. It's an Ask the Tech Guys on a Saturday.
Oh, this is weird.
Mikah Sargent on my left.
That is me, and Leo Laporte on my left. Wait.
Stage
you did the
right.
backward. Oh, got it. On my right.
Yeah, I don't know how it works. I don't know how all this stuff
He's over
works.
there, Leo Laporte.
We are doing this show on a Saturday because tomorrow is Sunday.
Tomorrow is Sunday, the holy day where we rest.
The great day, the holy day that all of the United States gathers. It's probably the last thing that happens in the U.S. where most of the country's watching. Mm-hmm. We're talking about the Super Bowl, of course. And for that reason, it's where advertisers want to be.
Right.
The Super Bowl this year, an ad in the Super Bowl, $7 million for half a minute. So when you see the ads in the Super Bowl and you look at them and you go, that company has a lot of money to spend. And those are, well, this is going to be very interesting this year because normally those are what we call branding ads. I've, because of TWiT, learned a little bit about the ad industry. And branding ads are just like what Coca-Cola or Budweiser does, just to get the name Tide, get the name out there, right? Mm-hmm. They don't really focus too much on benefits. It's just, it's the real thing, Coca-Cola. Or you're the Pepsi generation. Actually, I'm the Pepsi generation. That kind of thing where it's just branding and it's just feel good, goodwill. Pepsi this year is actually abandoning the halftime. I think they're still going to have some ads. We'll see. And they bought several $1 million ads on Twitter. They're doing a Twitter takeover.
On Twitter?
On Twitter, as is Anheuser-Busch, Budweiser.
Interesting.
So I'm wondering, see, we're in an ad recession right now. We're in an economic, not quite a recession. Things are starting to look better. Jobs are good and inflation's going down. But businesses are really concerned. That's why you saw all those layoffs. Mm-hmm. Holy cow. And advertisers also have pulled back quite a bit, as you probably noticed. We don't have as many ads on our shows. So I'm really interested to see who's buying $7 million ads on the Super Bowl. Furthermore, I'm going to guess, I may be wrong, but I wouldn't be surprised if some of these ads these days are not going to be so much the branding ads, but more like the My Pillow guy ads, where it's call 800-773-4499 right now and get $39 off 4 pillows for the price of 1, that kind of thing. That's what we call direct response advertising. It's frankly the kind of advertising you see on podcasts. When we started Tech TV in the early days, that's all we had. When it's an unproven medium or a new medium, advertisers say, we want to know if it's working. We want to give out a number, or in our case, we give out a special URL, we want to know if it's working. Those are direct response ads. Usually when you see direct response ads, it means it's kind of a lower rent
Got it. Because those big ones, that's the company going, well, I know there are going to be a bunch of
7 million,
eyes on this.
no big deal. We'll sell a ton of Coke for 7 million. So it'll be very interesting to see tomorrow. I'll be watching with interest what kind of ads we get.
Do you know when TWiT's ad is going to be on there?
I think we bought a takeover for the whole halftime.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. So Rihanna's playing for us?
Rihanna's playing. No, actually, Apple did. And even Apple, who has more money than anybody, right? I think they have almost more than 150 billion in cash. So 7 million is like, that's in the couch cushions right down here. But even Apple is going to do a lot of things to pay for that Rihanna concert. They had, I don't know if you noticed, but Rihanna has pretty much taken over Apple Music.
Yeah, and other services too. Instagram is all Rihanna right now.
Yeah, all Rihanna all the time. So I think that's kind of what happens is we got to get our money back out of this. And then this is a sign of the times. You won't see, apparently, you're not going to see a lot of car ads.
Okay.
Is what I'm reading. But one ad you might see, but only in certain markets, is ads from Dan O'Dowd. Dan O'Dowd is a California entrepreneur, billionaire, who has been buying for the last couple of years anti-Tesla ads. Oh. He is the guy who put up all those cutouts of children and then had the Tesla drive right through them.
Got it.
You might have seen that ad. He is going to pour some money into Super Bowl ads, but not national, not the $7 million ones, but they'll play in D.C., He's trying to get to legislators, right? State capitals like our own Sacramento, Atlanta, Albany, Tallahassee, Austin, trying to get legislators to do something about Tesla's full self-driving. It's his thing that it's dangerous. That, in fact, I think I'm reading on the Washington Post that this ad is going to show a Model 3 running into a child-sized mannequin, crossing over the center line into oncoming traffic, driving past do not enter signs, passing a school bus with the flashing stoplights on, you're not supposed to stop, and hitting a stroller in the middle of the road. Elon Musk says this guy is nuts. I'm not convinced. I think he has a point, shall we say, that we're all in this beta test for full self-driving. So it'll be very interesting to see these ads. If you're in one of those markets, you'll see them. I think, you remember there was a guy, maybe apocryphal, some time ago, named Ned Ludd. And Ned Ludd was a weaver. You know, he would weave fabric by hand. And along came these new automated looms, the Jacquard looms, that didn't need weavers. They would just weave. And he got a bunch of his fellow weavers to destroy these looms. They were called the Luddites. That's where we got that name. I wonder if we're going to have O'Dowdites. In 100 years or 200 years, are people going to look back and say, you know, there was this nut job,
right? Dan
O'Dowd. He didn't believe in self-driving cars. What is he, nuts? Everybody has them now. So we'll see. He might be the next Ned Ludd. Wouldn't that be interesting?
That would be interesting, yeah.
What else is news before we get to some calls? Call.twit.tv. That's how you get a hold of us. In the Zoom, it's best to probably do that on a phone. You just pick up your phone, open up the browser in your phone, and enter call.twit.tv. Zoom will launch. And then now we know your camera's working, your microphone's working, and you can sit there with your arm up like this for about an hour, which is a really good exercise for everybody. You know, you can put it down until we
get in your workout.
We call
for Super Bowl Sunday.
But get in the queue. Call.twit.tv. We also have, I think we have some emails. Do we have any videos this week?
No video, but we do have some emails.
Can we just get people to send us videos? Ask the tech guys at twit.tv. If you're too shy or your arm is too limp to call in, email us. Ask the tech guys at twit.tv your questions. And it'd be nice if you want to record a 30-second video saying, hey, here's my question. That way, it's nice to see you. It makes it fun. That's one of the advantages. PC shipments, PC CPU shipments, the worst in 30 years, which actually means they're the worst in history. x86 processors. This is from Mercury Research. Dean McCarran is an analyst there. The x86 processor market has just endured the largest on-quarter. We know this because we saw Intel's results last week. And on-year declines in our 30-year history since they've been keeping track of this stuff. People are just not buying PCs.
So those chips are exclusively made for PCs But these companies are making chips for other things that are being purchased, right? It's not.
No, it's bad all around.
Okay.
It's just bad. But it's probably just temporary, right? Everybody bought computers and technology during the pandemic.
So it's less steady.
It may be.
Okay.
No one knows what's going on. It's it's a combination of inflation, recession, and then people got stuff during the pandemic, so they'd have it. And
I'm wondering what's the biggest driver of new computer purchases. I guess schools maybe, and if we're not in school, if we're at home, we're using personal computers, so then school education isn't buying as many new PCs.
It's all of the above.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, absolutely. It's all of the above. Finally, did you see? So AI is the news, right? That's the big story all around. And we've been talking, of course, we started talking way back when about DALL-E and DALL-E 2 from OpenAI, and then ChatGPT came along doing text, Stable Diffusion, Midjourney doing graphics. There's even music AI now. It's going crazy. And of course, the big story last week was Microsoft admitted, we put $1 billion into OpenAI and ChatGPT. We're going to put another $10 billion into it. Yeah, we're firing all these people. Pay no attention to that. We're going to put another $10 billion into it, and we're going to put it into Office. And then this week they announced they had a Snap press conference. They're going to put it into Bing. And of course, in order to use it, first of all, you have to sign up. It's not available yet except for a few. And when you sign up, Bing suddenly becomes your default search. Edge becomes your default browser. It's a naked land grab. Meanwhile, Google went,
Let's hop on it.
and had pretty much an instant press conference the next day, 5:30 in the morning our time. I didn't get up for it, to announce that we're going to have Bard do the same thing, an experimental conversational AI service. See, they're worried that Bing will suddenly become the #1 search engine using ChatGPT. You can use Bard to plan a friend's baby shower, compare 2 Oscar-nominated movies, get lunch ideas based on what's in your fridge. Only problem, when they put up a little, in fact, I saw a story today that said some Google employees are a little miffed that Sundar Pichai rushed this out because it really wasn't ready. Let me go to the Google announcement on its Google blog, because there's a little mistake in there. Let me find this. Reuters spotted it, and the New Scientist. Let's see. Google keyword blog. I want to show you the animated GIF they put up of an example search that you might do on the new Bard. I guess they're going to put it into search. I mean, that's really it. One of its most valuable things is, instead of, and of course this is not good for people who make content like us, instead of going to those sites. You ask the AI, and the AI goes out and synopsizes it. And then where is the post here? Oh, I thought I had it up in The Verge, and I thought The Verge's was animating, but I guess it wasn't. Let me see if I can find this one. This is a tweet from an astronomer at University of California, Santa Cruz, where my dad taught, so I had to kind of notice this one. He's replying to the tweet from Google.
Oh, yeah, I see
Here it is. Here's the animated. So it says, introducing Bard, and here's the animated thing where you would ask it, what new discoveries from the James Webb Space Telescope can I tell my 9-year-old about? And it says, well, in 2023, it get pictures of the beginning of the universe and green. And the final thing is, it took the very first picture of an exoplanet, a Earth-like planet outside our own solar system. Well, no.
It didn't.
Bruce McIntosh works at University of California, says, speaking as someone who imaged an exoplanet 14 years ago, feels like you should find a better example. Can you believe they rushed this out so fast that they rushed it out with, and they decided this is a good search.
Right.
We'll put this on our blog. This is so exciting. With the wrong answer.
No one fact-checked what it was saying.
No, well, this is the problem, isn't it, with some of these things? I think it's possible, and we'll see what Bing does, to have an AI answer your search queries correctly. ChatGPT was never designed to do this. Apparently, neither was Bard, Google's AI. But it's important that it be correct. Otherwise, that's not so good.
Yeah, it's hallucination is what they call it.
Hallucination.
When
I call it mansplaining.
Making an error.
It's confidently wrong.
Yeah, exactly. It can make up this data because it simply hallucinates based on what information is out there.
All right, coming up on the show, we got some stuff. We've got, as I said, Daniel Suarez, a little clip from our interview with him yesterday. I am going to talk about digital to analog conversion.
Awesome.
And I'll show you, I have a review unit. Actually, I bought it, so it's not really a review unit. I have a review of something I bought for my wife that'll do that. The problem being computers see music and sound as ones and zeros. Your ears see it as waveforms. How do you convert digital to analog? We'll talk about that and show you some devices that do that in just a little bit. Would you like to take a call or two?
Let's go to the phone.
Let's go to the phone. Randy's been very patient, and I told Randy, I said, I will take you first because he got here before you did.
Wow. Nice. Good work, Randy.
Well done, Randy. Welcome to Ask the Tech Guys.
Hello, you can hear me?
Hear you great.
Yeah, you sound great.
Are you out in
great.
out in the great outdoors? I see the lily pads, and where are you?
Actually, I'm in Sarasota, Florida. That background is from Monet's garden in Giverny, France.
Oh, I've been to Giverny. That's beautiful. That's the water lilies he painted. Have you
That's
been
correct.
there? Have you been there?
We were there this last fall.
Isn't it beautiful?
Yes, gorgeous.
Yeah, it's amazing. Amazing.
The Mayflowers.
Is that your picture?
That's my picture.
Very nice.
With an iPhone.
Yeah, look at that. Stunning. The only thing missing is that little Japanese bridge that's somewhere else, I guess. In the
That was someplace else.
Yeah. So what can we do for you?
First of all, your banner shows that this is Sunday, February 11th. I think that needs to be fixed.
Because it's Saturday,
February 11th. The date's right, the day's wrong. You normally do this on Sunday.
It's because we had a chat bot do it. And
yeah,
it got it
we
wrong.
asked ChatGPT to write our lower third.
Yeah.
Thank you for correcting that. Whoopsies.
I wonder if you talk about blacklisted IP address. I've never heard you talk about it before. I can give you the full story if you want it, or
for email purposes.
Yes.
Yeah.
We have two homes. The home here in Florida, we have Comcast for our internet. We've had it for several years, and we get our email. But our other home, we have a Spectrum as our internet provider, but not our email provider. And so this summer, when we were at that home, we could not get intermittently, we could not get our email on our computers, which are both Wi-Fi and Ethernet connected. We use the Apple mail program, and next to our names would pop up a triangle, and you click on it, it pops up a message, which is something about the IP address is blacklisted.
Yeah.
So we cannot, and it would happen intermittently. We had no problem getting our Gmail. If we used our phones through cellular, we had no problem. We could go to the Comcast website.
Yeah, we can fix this. Let me explain what's going on. It all started with spam, and internet service providers like Comcast don't want you to be sending email from your own computer to the outside world in case you're a spammer, right? So they block the SMT port. SMTP is port 25, and they may be doing what they're doing to you, which is saying, hey, you can't do this. Or it sounds like this might not even be Comcast. It might be coming out of your, whether it's Spectrum or Comcast, coming out of your house, and then the email server seeing your IP address and saying, oh, no. And this is really too bad because it wasn't so hard to run your own email server. It is no longer practical. In fact, I was trying to find it. There was a great piece a couple of months ago by a guy who for 25 years has been running his own email and says, I finally gave up because Google, Yahoo, Microsoft, the biggies have dominated. And if you're not sending from one of them, they're probably going to reject your email. So in your case, you're not trying to run an email server, I'm guessing.
Nope.
Yeah, most people don't do that. So what this really is saying is you've misconfigured your email Because if normally what you do if you're sending email is you don't try to send it from your own system. You send it from Gmail, for instance, if you're using Gmail. And the way you do that is when you configure your mail client, you'll log into Gmail and you'll configure both an inbound server. Typically that's POP3 or IMAP. In Gmail's case, they have their own special technology, but it's an inbound server. And you'll configure the outbound server, which is an SMTP server. And it'll be something like smtp.gmail.com. And actually, with Gmail, you don't have to set that up. You just log into your Google account, and most email clients will go, oh, yeah. We'll send it through Gmail. If you're sending it through Gmail, the recipient never sees your IP address. That doesn't come into the matter at all. Google sees it, because you're using your mail client, but Google knows you. You're authenticated with Google. So for some reason, when you set up your outbound email, you didn't authenticate with the outbound server that you're using. Is it Gmail that you use?
No, I use Comcast mail.
So the way Comcast works, same thing. You authenticate with Comcast servers, not by giving them your IP address, but by logging in. So I would... if you're using webmail, this will never come up, but you're obviously using Apple Mail or Outlook or something like that, right?
Right. Yeah. Apple Mail.
So what you want to do is just start over. Don't worry, it's not going to delete any mail, but just start over setting up Apple Mail. And I'm trying to remember with Apple Mail, I don't know if I don't think it says Comcast. It'll say Google, it'll say Outlook.
Or choose POP or IMAP.
Yeah. Choose IMAP. Comcast will have instructions on how to set it up. It will involve you authenticating using your Comcast login. The fact that you're getting mail means you've done that for the inbound portion. The fact that it's saying, wait a minute, you can't send mail from there, means you're not authenticating on the outbound portion. Apple Mail's trying to send it from your system. Can't do it. And it is too bad because, in fact, we had a sponsor some time ago. They've just gone out of business, which is sad, called Helm. And the whole idea of Helm was, well, you can run an email server, but in order to do that, they had to route your mail through their server, and they had to set it all up with Google and Outlook and all these people that don't know we're okay. It's going through us. It was a kind of a mess. It's really, I think it's a bad thing because it's a response to spam, but it means people can't run their own servers anymore.
But why does it happen in our other house where we're using our Spectrum provider and not in the house I'm in now where I'm using Comcast?
Because you've set the mail up with Comcast, fine. You have to go back then to your Spectrum setup, remove that, and start over. Probably, I'm almost certain what's happening here is you're logged into Spectrum and you're trying to use Comcast as your sending receiver, and Comcast says, "Well, you can't do that." So it's a misconfiguration in the outbound email. Take it out, start over, make sure you've got both inbound and outbound properly set up. As I remember, you can send using Comcast's outbound server from anywhere as long as you're properly authenticated. I don't think that's a problem. If it ends up being a problem, a little inside tip, you don't have to use the same outbound sender that you use for inbound. So a lot of people, for instance, say you're using Comcast Mail or using Spectrum Mail, you can have all your outbound mail go through Google if you want. All you have to do is set up the outbound server in your Apple Mail to work with Google.
Huh.
Yeah. So there's no requirement that you have to inbound and outbound have to be the same server. So it's not unusual, in fact, for a lot of people to get Comcast Mail or Spectrum Mail, but use Google as their outbound mail.
We got to clip that and share it on the internet because I don't think people know this. That's a good tip. I had no idea.
I would say in this case, Spectrum is trying to protect its network from spammers. They say, well, you're not sending through our servers. You're authenticated as you. I'm pretty sure you could go into your Apple Mail and reconfigure it so that it's sending it properly through Comcast. If Spectrum is being a real jerk, a really jerky jerk face, maybe you'll have to configure it when you're in Florida to send it through Spectrum.
But people would tell me to call Spectrum and get them to change my IP address.
No. Your IP address should never come into the equation.
All right.
Almost all residential IP addresses will be blocked because of anti-spam, right? They don't expect it from residential IP addresses. And this is the complaint, is that really the big tech giants have taken over email. Email is no longer something everybody can use. So you have to send your outbound email through Comcast or Spectrum or Gmail or Fastmail or whoever, our sponsor, whoever you want, but you have to send it through them. You can't send it from your IP address. So your IP address is irrelevant in this situation. All right?
I will give it a try.
Hey, I appreciate the call. Thank you. It's great to talk to you. Now, do I have to, just a question, do I just press hang up? Is that all I have to do?
Are we back to how we used to be, John?
I don't remember how this works. It's so complicated. Yes, that's all I had to do.
Nice.
It's a magic button.
It's a miracle.
What do you want to do next, Mikah Sargent?
Should we take another question?
Okay.
All right.
I can do that. Who's got his hands up? I see John, and he's got his hands up. But let me figure out which John you are. There he is. And press the send to the breakout room. We're getting it down, folks. Now, John, you just have to unmute and say hello. Where are you calling from, John?
Oh, it's John the guitar.
Got it. Hello.
Hello, John.
What's up?
All right. Took me a minute to click through all the settings and get it pulled up.
Yeah, I know. I apologize. Yeah.
I'm in St. Petersburg, Florida, so not far away from the last caller.
You know how I know? Because you got baseballs. You obviously go down to spring training, don't you?
Well, yes, and also I live right next to out here is the Tropicana Field where the Rays play.
Oh, nice. So
too bright to see, but I'm walking distance from the stadium.
Oh, I've always wanted to be walking distance from a stadium.
That's pretty cool.
I would then get season tickets and just spend my life at the stadium. That would be so much fun.
Yeah, I try to go as much as I can. So I had a Synology NAS question. I'm set one up at a business partner's house, and I'm trying to log in from where I am, and I'm at the, maybe the limits of my technical knowledge here. So I made it pretty far, but if I use the link to log in to the NAS remotely, do I need to have a VPN to do that?
No. There's two ways to do it with the Synology. Synology has, and I would recommend this, something called Quick Connect. You've seen that?
Yeah, that's what I'm using.
Yeah. So you will name your NAS, I don't know, John's Tampa Bay Rays NAS or whatever it is.
Okay.
And .quickconnect.2. And what happens is this is called something called NAT traversal. When you go to your NAS, it actually goes to Synology.com. Synology resolves the local address, because your IP address may be moving. It's a moving target. Resolves it, says, I see it, and sends that connection down to John's NAS. And I believe, it's my understanding, once that connection's set up, now Synology's out of the mix. It's not like all your data is going through them. They just do the NAT traversal so you can find your NAS. That's the easiest. If you want, it's non-trivial, but you can actually set up your NAS to log in via an IP address. You have to open ports on your router, 5000 and 5001, and it's complicated. That's why they set up Quick Connect. Quick Connect works fine. I don't think it's a privacy concern.
That's what I was going to say. I suggest using that.
Yeah.
You can do the other, but it does get complicated after a while if you've got to change things.
I actually have a domain name registered for my NAS, and so I can type in, leosnas.com, or I'm not going to give out the address.
Right.
You get the idea. And, usually I'll have to type :5001, and you could do that. There are some things you can run on Synology, and this is what you may be running up against, that are more tricky. For instance, if you wanted to run an email server, or I run a sync things server, those kinds of things, then you do have to open ports on your router, on your firewall. There's some complicated things you have to do because they don't use Quick Connect. So if it's just logging into the NAS, setting up the NAS, installing stuff, using the program Synology provides, the backup and so forth, Quick Connect is by far the easiest. A VPN won't help you at all.
Okay. Yeah, my reason for asking is I'm so over where the NAS is physically located, we shoot video, and then I'll store that on the NAS.
Right.
And then from here, I when I log in to
you want to play it back.
It's it plays back.
Here's what I would do.
Buffering.
Yeah, get Plex. It's available in the App Store for Synology. I don't think it's a third-party app. But it might be a third-party app. But if you Google Plex Synology, set up a Plex server on your Synology. And then life gets much easier because basically that's a media server. And now you can watch it. There are other kinds of media servers. Synology supports Apple's media server technology. So if you were just on an Apple network with an Apple TV and Macintoshes and iPhones, that would be a good way to go. It supports Samba, which is Windows networking as well. But I think Plex is by far the easiest. Once you do that, now you might store other media on there because suddenly you're
and you've got like the thumbnails and the organization. I
Yeah.
mean, there's so much that just gets built in with that makes it so much simpler than just looking at the files and hoping they load.
Yeah.
It handles all of that for you.
So then do I take, if we're filming a video, do I put it onto Plex at the location?
Yeah. So Plex will be running on your NAS. It's a server software. And you tell Plex what parts of the Synology hold media files. And it will look at those. It will index them. It'll give you a nice user interface. It makes it very easy to play them back. You can even open it to the outside world as well. If you do that, a lot of Plex owners do that, then you will have to do some port forwarding and things like that on your router.
Okay, so if I'm remote, like I'm not physically there, do I still go to Quick Connect to then go into Plex? No?
Then, now... So, a NAS, we should explain, stands for Network Attached Storage. It's really a computer. It doesn't have a keyboard, monitor, mouse. It connects to your network, usually via Ethernet, via hardwire into your router. That NAS is visible internally using Quick Connect. Externally, you're now putting it on the public internet. That's a little more complicated, and there's more security concerns. Honestly, it's one of the benefits of doing a Synology. It's a very good way to do that. But now it gets a little bit more complicated. If you want to make Plex public, a lot of people do. They say, hey, view my movie collection, You can do that, but you'll have to open ports. You'll have to set it up. You don't use Quick Connect for that. Quick Connect is only if you want to connect inside the house.
Okay. All right. Yeah, I've gotten into the deep water here. I can see that.
Yeah, you're getting deep water, but that's all right. You live in the waterfront. Mike B is reminding me to say, do not install the Synology App Store version of Plex. Better to go get it from Plex directly. The Plex Store app is more up to date.
And Plex has great guides on how to do the proper installation.
Yeah.
So especially with you're using a Synology, it's a very common network attached storage. So they have the guides to walk you through how to do this. So
If you really want to do this, it is well worth the effort.
I agree.
I think people who use this love it. I guess you do.
Yeah.
But it's some work. You're going to dive in. So you're going to go to, Plex.tv? You're going to go to the Plex site, and you're going to read documentation. You're going to read. There are posts everywhere about how to do this because so many people do it. You're going to have to do some studying and read up and not listen to Leo because there are going to be better details out there in the real world.
All right. Well, you got me started at least.
Yeah,
So
I think it's a lot of fun. Mars Worm in our chat room says, remind the caller he'll need FileBot to rename the media so Plex can see them.
What?
Oh, my God.
Oh, boy.
Anyway, you
I
can
don't
see
know
the...
about that,
I don't
but
think that's
okay.
true, but you could. It gets complicated. It is well worth it. It is well worth it. Hey, it's great to talk to you.
Yeah. Thanks.
Go
Thanks
Rays.
for helping out.
Dude, so
Go
do you go to
Rays.
spring training?
The closest spring training here is actually the Yankees. They're at Steinbrenner Field, right down the road in Tampa. So
Yeah.
I'll go check them out for spring
Fun.
training. And when the season starts, then I go see the Rays.
Stick with the Rays. We used to go down to Scottsdale to see the Giants spring training. It used to be a small, intimate affair. It's gotten a little bit bigger. Hey, a pleasure talking to you. Thanks for calling. I appreciate it, John. Have
Thanks for
fun.
taking my call.
Call back as needed.
Okay, we'll do.
All right. I think I want to go to Jeff. Do you want to talk? I see you there, but I don't see your hand raised. I should probably go to people. Yeah, you do.
there's a
All right. I'm
thumbs
going to
up.
push the button, and we're going to send Jeff in there. Ladies and gentlemen, the newest senator from the state of Pennsylvania, John Fetterman, is on the line here. Oh, wait a minute. No, that's not John Fetterman. It's Jeff. Hi, Jeff.
Hello, Jeff.
He's
Hi,
on
how
his
you guys
phone,
doing?
so I just want to show how great that works,
Yeah,
right?
Check that out.
Plus, his arm's getting tired.
Well, no, I'm at the, my son's getting his haircut.
Oh, you're at the barber shop.
Okay, I
Yeah,
can tell
no,
you I can
not
give
for
some
me.
tips on what haircut we should get. Yeah.
No, I don't need it. Believe me. It's not for me.
Welcome.
No.
Where are you calling from?
Thank you. It's pleasant. I'm in a place called New City, New York. It's near about 20 miles north of New York City.
Nice.
The suburbs.
It's the new New York.
The new New York.
New New York.
It doesn't look like a barber shop you're in.
It's like a salon. So, yeah. Supercuts.
Supercuts.
Yeah.
Love it.
So, yeah. It's very quiet, so I can go outside. If that's better.
No,
Can you
it
hear me
sounds
okay?
great. Either way, it sounds great.
All right,
This
all
is
right,
really
all
a
right,
good test
all
of the
right.
phone.
Yeah, I like.
What kind of phone are you on?
I'm on the iPhone 13, and I got my AirPods. So,
That's why it sounds so good. Yeah,
So,
the noise. There's no background noise at all. What can we do for you?
Perfect. I'm going to visit my parents in Florida in a few weeks, and I have a Ring doorbell, but I need something. I'm happy with it, but yet I know that there's other choices out there. And my dad is kind of technically challenged. My mom, they live at an area where other people have them already.
Yeah.
He has good Wi-Fi, obviously, because it's a small apartment. But I was going to order, Amazon version Ring, and I don't know, someone told me Google's better, and he kind of has a Google Home device, and he has Alexa. So it's a mixed marriage there. One side of the bed, my mom has Alexa. The other side of the bed, he has Google.
So you have to ask him who's going to get up and answer the door.
Who wins? So I'll tell you this.
Exactly.
Your instincts are correct, and what others have told you. The Google Nest doorbell is easily one of the best, and it is it works very well. The hardware is premium. It connects very easily, and it has a very steady and steadfast use. And I think the simplicity is there as well. If you're looking for, say you're kind of thinking, okay, I want to do this, but I don't want to spend a bunch of money in case they end up not wanting to use it or they don't like it. That's where you may look at Eufy. Of course, Eufy it's going to require someone with a little bit of technical savvy to get it set up. But if you're kind of trying to save some money, that might be your better bet. I really think that if you want the kind of be-all, end-all, it's the Nest. Do you still use a Nest at your house?
I started with a Ring. I had a Ring for a long time, loved them. They work very well with Amazon's Echo. I replaced it with the Google Hello doorbell. They work very well with the Google Assistant. They kind of both work with each, but I think they're both good. Scooter X is reminding us that in apartments, depends what the terms are, you may have some trouble replacing the doorbell. There are actually cameras that go in the peephole.
That's what I have. Yeah.
You have a peephole?
I have a peephole camera because
That's from
I
Google?
live in an apartment. No, it is not. It is a Eufy, I think.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that might be better from an installation point of view. You're going to do the installation, I'm figuring, right?
Yeah, because I already got them. You probably know the company Kangaroo.
Yeah.
But it didn't do video. It just takes snapshots. And
that's no good.
They weren't really happy. It was very affordable. It's like $30 at the time.
Yeah.
But Ring is on sale for $70 on Amazon now.
Just remember, there's a monthly fee for all of these.
Yep.
Right.
I'm nervous about Eufy only because they've been bit by security issues.
Yes, they did have the security issue that I feel comfortable with how it was addressed. But again, we're going back to you are going to end up having to do tech support from a distance. Google's Nest or Amazon's Ring are going to be your best bet there because of the ability to go, hey, this is how we fix it. It's very easy to fix.
It's also nice to use Ring or Hello because if they have a real doorbell that is powered, there's a little wire that comes from a DC transformer somewhere in the house, then you don't have to worry about batteries, right? You just it gets its power from the DC transformer and it just works. Otherwise, they're battery powered and they periodically will have to charge them up, disconnect them, plug them in, that kind of thing, which is kind of annoying. Okay. Do you have to do that with yours?
It is battery powered. Yeah. And I'm just now remembering it is a Ring. It's a Ring peephole cam. They don't even make that one anymore, unfortunately. But I am always having to change the battery
I find that
out.
annoying.
Yeah, it is.
So, but this is all going to kind of be dependent on what you can do at this apartment complex. Like if they'll let you take out the old doorbell and install a new one. It looks different. You said everybody's got one, so it sounds like that'll work.
Yeah, I contacted the store manager already.
Excellent.
It should work. I contacted the store management. They said fine. So,
lovely. Yeah, and if they've got that wire, that power for the doorbell, most doorbells that light up do, then that's really the best way to go. I think Ring is fine. And one advantage, if everybody in your complex has Ring, is they have this social network called, is it Neighbor?
Next Door.
Next Door, yeah, something like that.
And
Ring
they
Neighbor,
can see your camera, you can see their camera, you could send it to the police if there's trouble. Some people don't like that.
Yeah, I'm not big on it.
But I'm taking in there, live with a bunch of other older folks who might well like that kind of security, right?
Yeah, I agree. That's probably the best way to go.
Yeah. But, if everybody else has it, there's a lot to be said for it. Mm-hmm. You know it works. Right. They can join that network and they can, everybody can see everybody else's.
I'm also thinking about too, if other people they have echoes, it's somewhat likely that they will have what's called Amazon Sidewalk. So that just kind of helps to make sure that there's a connection for the camera at all times. Yeah. So
and it's funny that you're mentioning that because I was going to get them. They have to go downstairs to get the mail. I was going to get them the sensor.
Oh, nice.
That Ring makes also.
That uses Sidewalk.
Wi-Fi there. Yeah, use the Sidewalk. So I was thinking that too. So
sounds like
them up a little bit.
Yeah, sounds like
you're a good boy, Jeff.
Yeah, and that's
you're a good son.
Thank you. I'm gonna record this for my mother.
Does Mom have the Echo on her side of the bed?
Yeah,
she'll be getting up.
Mom's the winner.
I was doing a phone interview a couple of days ago, and I have a Google Assistant and it shouts, "Someone's at the front door," and puts up a picture. I mean, that's cool for them. They'll love that, right? They don't have to get up. They can see who's there. I said, "Could you mind if I interrupt this interview and go and answer the door?" And I answered it. And the guy says, "I'm here to drain the hot tub." I said, "Well, you're not here to drain my hot tub, buddy." I don't know.
No.
He said, "Oh, what's your address?" And it was the neighbors.
Oh.
So that is the disadvantage. Somebody rings the wrong bell, you still get that big announcement. But nevertheless, it was fun.
But and the mailbox, by the way, is awesome because I have it programmed to say, "You've got mail."
You've got mail. That's awesome.
Cool.
Somewhere you can download that guy's voice from AOL. What was his name? Durwood?
Oh my goodness, you remember his name?
Yeah, he was very famous for a while. In his retirement, he was for a few bucks. You could ask him to record one for you. And I had him record one. I don't know where it is. I wish I could find it. It's Elwood.
Elwood Edwards.
Elwood Edwards. That's right. And he, I can't remember. He said something like, "You've got mail, you twit." It was great. I don't know what I did with it. I don't want to hear "You've got mail" ever again.
Hey, I don't blame you.
But your parents might. Thank you, Jeff.
They might. Have a good day.
Hey, I hope you get a good haircut.
The sun.
Bye. Let's see. We had a wonderful time yesterday talking with Daniel Suarez. He's been on our interview show Triangulation 5 times. This is his 5th interview.
Wow.
Starting with his very first novel, which was a mind-bending novel called Demon. If you haven't read it, it's still highly recommended. His 7th novel just came out. It's the successor to Delta V. We interviewed him for that. Was called Critical Mass. It's just out. It's wonderful. But what's interesting about Daniel, he's a space buff. He is really into space. In fact, before he did the interview with me, he was on This Week in Space last week with Rod Pyle and Tarek Malik talking about space. And we got started talking not just about the novel, and it's a fun novel, and it's a great plot and everything, but Daniel does something. He's very brave. All of his stuff is either present time or near future. Ooh. In this case, this is 2038. And that's brave for a science fiction author because, in about 15 years, people are going to know whether he was right or not, right? Mm-hmm. But he wrote this because he really wants us to start thinking about space, not going to Mars, but about space as our savior, as a way to fix climate change, to fix inequality, to solve a lot of the world's problems. So I talked a little bit about that with him. I asked him, I actually started by asking him about this cover, which is a picture of the moon and a space station above it. Here's what he had to say.
This is, again, we wanted a human element, just the beginning of a human element, which is Clark Station, and then the moon, which is, of course, the critical mass in question. But it is, again, metaphorical because, of course, we want a critical mass of public opinion to realize how important this mass is.
Very good.
And we are so fortunate. Earth is incredibly fortunate that we have the moon so close at hand.
It's sitting there waiting for us.
But it's also protected us for millions and billions of years from stray rocks.
We're learning more and more how much the moon takes the hit for us.
And that and Jupiter helping us out. Yeah. So we are extremely fortunate, but this may be our gateway to space. Is near Earth asteroids first, and then you take some of those resources to go to the moon. Now, you could do the moon first, but it's going to take a bigger investment up front.
I think you've got it just right.
Yeah, good.
Go get Ryugu.
Yeah.
We've already been there.
Well, there's also another probe that NASA is putting up, an observatory, and John, I'm sorry if I get this wrong. I think it's NEOWISE. It's going up in 2025.
John will know.
I'm operating on just my local RAM here. But that is going to be an observatory to try to chart all of the near-Earth objects. And by looking in infrared, near-infrared, it's going to be able to see them. Now, we think there are 500,000 of these near-Earth objects of various size. We believe there's none larger than a kilometer. And that would be like an extinction level event for at least part of us.
Hit us, yeah.
And a lot of these they cross Earth's orbit, and the ones we're totally blind to right now are the ones that come from the direction of the sun. And you'll see this occasionally when you look at the news.
Because you can't see them.
Oh, we just discovered a rock.
Right. Where did that
just
come from? There it is.
breezed
There's
right close
NEOWISE.
to us.
Yeah.
Oh, there we go. I got it right.
You got it
Good.
right.
There's so many spaceships in my head right now.
It's actually cool that we are doing all of this. It feels like we're in a renaissance of space exploration.
I truly believe that. And we just
Hallelujah.
need more and more people, both billionaires and government officials who vote on these things, as well as the general public, to realize we really are on sort of the brink of a golden age if we make the right decisions. So we're at I'd say a fork in the road. One way is a crisis and one way is a golden age. And I don't need to tell you which one I would prefer we choose.
I really like that point. We are literally at that fork in the road.
We are that generation that other generations will point back to and say, oh, they were amazing.
They made the right choice or
those
extinction event.
Yeah.
It's reading the book. I highly recommend it. Critical Mass is the name. It is, of course, a novel. It's science fiction, but it makes a very strong case for both governments and private industry to go out, harvest asteroids, do asteroid mining. There's a lot of money to be made for somebody like Elon Musk.
Right.
If you just pay attention, go up there, harvest that, build a base on the moon, continue to harvest materials, not bring them back to Earth, but use them as a way to solve many of our problems. He described another part of the interview, and I recommend watching the whole thing. It's on our Triangulation feed. He described how we could solve our problems with power and carbon in the atmosphere using space lasers, using giant solar receptors in orbit, geostationary orbit, sending energy down via microwave to rectennas, gathering them, giving us more than enough power for the entire globe, enough power to do things like desalinate water from the sea so we solve our water problems, to sequester carbon from the air so we can solve, because, we've already put enough carbon in the air that it's going to take decades before it starts getting cooler again. So there's a lot of things we can do, and it's very exciting. And he's got an entire blueprint in the book. Highly recommend it. If you haven't read Delta V, don't worry. You can read Critical Mass all by itself, although I'd recommend all of Daniel's books. All 7 of them are really great novels. And what has become his niche is talking about the near future and technologies we already have. Everything in this book we already have. As ways of raising issues, talking about problems ahead, but also solving issues. So it's great stuff. Daniel Suarez. It was really nice to see him. twit.tv/TRI is Triangulation. It's also on our events feed, which is twit.tv/events. Explain what's going on with Triangulation. We don't do it every week anymore, but we do it whenever I think there's somebody great to bring in. And Daniel was an example. He's been on Triangulation several times before, as I said. So it's if you keep subscribed to the Triangulation feed, you won't have to wait till I tell you. It'll just, oh, look, there's a new show.
Another great interview.
It's amazing. Yeah, he was a lot of fun. All right, let me see what hands are raised. I think we're going to say hi to Joseph. He says, blindfold phone man from Dalton, Georgia. Let me send him to the on-air studio, and we'll say hi to Joseph as soon as he unmutes his microphone. No camera today, I think, unless Joseph turns it on. Hi, Joseph.
You've got mail.
Is that you or is that Elwood?
No, that's me. Just
you
pulled up the old sound file.
That was him.
I got rid of AOL.
You've got mail.
Let me just save these sound files, and I saved them. So I've still got the thing that goes, welcome.
Oh my gosh. You got mail. What else was it? Was there a hang up sound?
I'm trying to remember. There was a door closing. I just heard that, and I heard something like, file's done.
File's
Something
done.
like
Wow. Young people are going, what the hell are they talking about?
Yeah. Because I had a modem. This was before I got my ISDN, which I don't have now either. But anyway.
Yeah.
But I wanted to comment on something you said. I wish I'd heard what you said quick enough to have avoided this thing. But I saw on Amazon.com, it says 890. 982 gigabyte flash drive, $15.95.
$15?
Yes, and I thought, hey, that's a steal.
Yes, it was. But somebody's unfortunately were the person getting stolen from.
Yeah, unfortunately. So, but at any rate, I had this weird feeling in my head. So I says, it's offering me a couple of other. You know how Amazon offers you a choice to add a couple of things with your order.
Mm-hmm.
So I added 2 legit thumb drives, which I had, knew were pretty much legit. Samsung and one of the other ones. Can't think of it right now.
SanDisk, maybe?
No, it wasn't SanDisk.
Yeah.
Kingston, Western Digital.
Kingston, that's what it was.
Kingston.
It was a Kingston. They were all metal thumb drives.
Nice.
That thing looks real good. It looks fantastic. It claims it's waterproof. I might as well throw it in some water, but anyway. And see what happens. I ran Tool and Windows, and it claims that I can get maybe 29 gigs out of the thing.
Yeah. It's not a terabyte drive. It's
no. I didn't want to devote. I started to do a slow format just to see what happened, but I didn't want to keep my machine tied up. It said it was going to be several days or something like that.
There's other reasons not to use it, because they scammed you, right? And you heard us talking about these 16 terabyte drives they were selling for $100. That inside there was circuitry that said it's 16 gigs. There was also a tiny mini flash drive of about 50 gigs. So there was some storage on it. That sounds like you got a variant of that.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a shame that Amazon sells these, to be honest. But I guess, almost half of everything sold on Amazon is sold by a third party. And I guess it's too hard for them to keep track of this. I don't know.
Probably.
You should certainly let them know
it
it's a scam.
I guess I should do that. I passed my return window, but I guess I can put it in the reviews, although other people have already done that. So
yeah.
I got a feeling
read the reviews is a good advice. Yeah,
that's
always
what
read
I
the
should have
reviews.
done.
Yeah.
That's definitely what I should have done.
Yeah.
But the email thing, I go back far enough. I was doing email in Linux and had my own server set up, and I was using a service called TZO. I don't know if that's one that's familiar.
I don't recognize the name. No.
Yeah, they would take your mail and hold it for you and forward it to your server wherever it was when you logged in with the client or whatever. But I was curious about this. I said, this spam thing is starting to be a problem. So just for the heck of it, I found a version of Linux that didn't have the security patches in it, and I installed it. And sure enough, as soon as I brought it up, data started going out of my system. And someone had found my IP address and sent a spam mail out before I could do anything. So I said, yeah, I'm glad I got these security updates.
And that's exactly what happened, is that ISPs, for a long time, Comcast did not want to block port 25, the outbound email port, because they said it's going to cost us too much money. Remember, Comcast, the biggest internet service provider in the country, has millions of customers. At least, maybe thousands of those customers were sending email out. And they knew if they turned off port 25, they were just going to get a bunch of inbound tech support calls. And that costs some money.
Mm-hmm.
A lot, surprisingly large amount of money to have a call center and people answering the phone. So Comcast resisted for a long time, but eventually the internet community, I think, got to them and said, look, you're not helping anybody. For a while, almost all spam was coming through Comcast customers. That was a big deal, just like it happened to you, to hack people to use them to send outbound spam.
Now, was it metered back then?
No, it wasn't a question of metering. It was a question of spammers trying to A, hide their identity, and B, find someone that would send spam for them. Because if you say to a legitimate outbound email company, hey, I'd like to send 1 million messages today, they go, yeah, no. But if I could take over your computer, Larry, and say, don't tell Larry, but we're going to send 1 million messages. And you saw it, right? You saw the traffic. So
yeah,
I'm sorry, Joseph, not Larry. I'm sorry, Joseph.
No, that's quite all right.
Yeah.
But I actually didn't see the traffic because being blind, I've come up with all kind of things over the years. And one of the things I came up with was putting I don't know if you may remember these suction cup telephone pickups that they used to sell.
Yeah, the old modems. Yeah.
Hooked mine up to an amplifier. No, not a modem.
You would put it on the Western Electric handset, and it would pick up the signal. Yeah.
So I hooked it up to an amplifier, an old tape recorder I wasn't using anymore, basically, and I put it on a certain area of my computer where I could hear the sounds the computer was making. So data going out had one pitch, and data coming in had another pitch.
Wow.
And
Aren't
I could
you
tell
smart?
the thing was scanning the keyboard, and in the older computer I used, it was slower. You could actually tell when it was unzipping things and stuff like that.
Oh, my goodness.
There was a certain kind of a rustling sound that it made when it unzipped the file. So
wow.
I'm so
that's how I sort of discovered that Microsoft, I don't know if you remember this, and I think it was DOS 6.2 and 6.2.2, they actually compressed some of their executables with a program called PK Lite.
Right.
To make them a little bit smaller on the disk.
Yep.
And when I ran ScanDisk, I'm like, there's something funny going on. It sounds like this thing is uncompressing something. And, when I found out about PK Lite, I just said, let me just run it on this. And sure enough, it told me it was compressed with PK Lite. And I said, well, that's interesting. I had no idea they did that.
Joseph, that's so cool.
There's a wonderful, highly recommended documentary, I think it's on YouTube, about the zip wars, particularly with PK. I'm not going to say what happened because I don't want to misstate it, but there was a huge controversy around PK zip. It's a fascinating documentary. I'll find it. I'll put it in our show note links.
Well, they got in trouble for, they got in trouble with whoever wrote the ARC program.
Exactly. That's what happened. Is the ARC folks said you stole it.
ARC.
Yep. And I was kind of aware of this at the time because I had written, there was no ARC, which predated zip as a compression format. There was no ARC for the Macintosh, early days of the Macintosh. So I wrote a DARC program that could at least open and uncompress programs that were compressed with ARC on PCs. Never got around to writing the ARC part of that, only the DARC part of it. But it was very interesting to see how it worked and to implement it myself in 68,000 assembly. It was quite interesting. I'm going to find that documentary because, the folks at ARC were not happy.
I can imagine. Nobody ever is. The Stack Electronics wasn't very happy with double space.
Yeah, remember that? Yeah, I remember that.
Yep. I was trying to find.
As I remember, the accusation was ARC was just a young couple who created this thing. And PK came along. Was his name Philip Kaplan? I can't remember what his name was.
Phil Katz.
Katz, that's right. Phil Katz came along and took over, shall we say. And, I'm going to see if I can find that because I can't remember where I saw it. But it was a wonderful story about the golden age of computing. I think it's called Bending. Let me see if this is it. No, that's not it. That is not it. Well, I'll find it and I'll add it afterwards, as I often do.
And another thing I did was back when I had my TI-99, I found that I could tune an FM radio at a certain frequency. I could sit it close to the TI, and I could hear the thing scanning the keyboard and doing what it did, so I could tell when it was finished doing something. So used little tricks like that. A gentleman from Decatur was doing that, and I sort of knew that it might work, but I just said, let me just try this. And so it was a technique that I still want to put a radio or I still want to put a telephone pickup up to this machine I've got.
Can you still buy those? Those are great. I don't know if they would work anymore because everything's digital now, right?
Yeah, I'd have to have I got an amp I could plug in. But the funny thing is this computer I've got, I can actually put my ear to the back of this thing and turn it on, and I can hear it. Some of the same sounds coming from the electronics. And I found that I had a thumb drive. It was actually a cartridge, and I could put that up to my ear and listen to that thing when I was sending data to it and from it. And I could hear noises from that. So I don't know what that's all about, but some of the electronics are actually making very minute noises.
Oh, yeah. In fact, we were very worried, speaking of the good old days, when we started getting gigahertz processors, hams especially were worried that now we're starting to, these processors are operating in the radio spectrum, and interference in these processors might cause a real problem. Here's the documentary. It's called BBS, The Documentary. You can get a DVD of it. I believe a lot of this is on YouTube. But it is a history of those days, and there's a couple of episodes they did on PKZip, PKWare, and the SEA controversy and lawsuits and all of this stuff. It's a really wonderful documentary.
I started to watch that.
Yeah, and, highly recommend it. They say the DVD is sold out, so I wonder if maybe it's okay now to watch it pirate versions on YouTube. I don't know, but this is, I highly recommend it. It's really fascinating. Hey, a pleasure talking to you. Thank you so much for calling.
Oh, certainly. You take care.
Have a wonderful day, Joseph.
You too.
Take care.
Bye-bye.
I want to give us a little mention of our sponsor.
Yeah.
Because I personally had a very good night's sleep. How about you?
I absolutely
did. You have a good night's sleep?
I did.
You know, you could have a good night's sleep too if you happen to have. Ant, did you have a good night's sleep? Always. If you happen to have what I have, what Ant has, what Mikah has, it's called the 8 Sleep Pod Cover. Look, I don't have to tell Mikah this because he did a whole podcast about sleep. Sleep is key. It's nature's gentle nurse. It's the ultimate game changer. And the pod cover is the ultimate sleep machine. Consistent good sleep is so good for you. Besides your state of mind, it also reduces the likelihood of serious health issues. It's been shown to decrease the risk of heart disease, to lower blood pressure. There's even some evidence that it reduces the risk of Alzheimer's. That kind of makes sense because that deep sleep that you spend an hour or two in each night, that is cleaning out the garbage in your brain, cleaning it all out. Deep sleep is one of the things that improves dramatically with the 8 Sleep. At least it did for me. I'm getting about 50% better deep sleep. I went from about an hour a night to an hour and a half a night.
Nice.
That makes a big difference. How many hours of deep sleep do you get? I bet you're a young guy. I bet you get a lot.
It's between 2 and 2.5 hours.
Yeah, I'm so jealous. I'm so jealous. Well, let me tell you how the pod works. Because, it is, that quantified self thing where it takes a look at your sleep and tells you how much tossing and turning you did, how much deep sleep, how much REM sleep, how much light sleep, how long it took you to go to sleep. But it's not just that. It's also improving your sleep. It works all night long to help you sleep better. Now, we have the Pod 2. They just sent us the Pod 3 cover, so I'm going to put that on. But I have to say, we're very, very happy. They also have a mattress that they can sell. The cover itself is just like a mattress cover. Fits on any mattress. Lets you, and get this is incredible, adjust the temperature of your bed, of your sleep environment, providing the optimal temperature that gets you the best night's sleep. And I'm not just talking about a heater. It can cool you too. And if you're hot at night, nothing worse than waking up in the middle of the night, sweating, feeling hot. It's hard to get back to sleep. You'll never have to worry about that with the pod cover. It features dual zone temperature control, so you and your partner can set both sides of your bed to your appropriate temperatures, as cool as 55 degrees. And I got to tell you, that's cool. That's like air conditioning in your bed. To as warm as 110 degrees, and that's hot, or anywhere in between. It bases it not only on your settings, and they have an app you can set it, but it also monitors the temperature of the room. It monitors your motion, your tossing and turning and so forth, to find the right temperature. Generally, what people want is they start warm and it cools off as they get into deeper and deeper sleep. That's telling your body, okay, time for deep sleep now. And then I have mine set to warm up. It even will vibrate if you want, a little silent alarm to wake you up. And about 8 o'clock in the morning, I'm just toasty and warm. There's only one problem. I don't want to get out of bed. I'm awake, but I don't want to get out of bed, especially on these cold nights. If you're in Australia, yeah, you can get the 8 Sleep cover too. And I know it's been a hot summer down south. Get the 8 Sleep and you will sleep better summer or winter. I think you'll save money too because you don't have to turn on the heat at night or the air conditioning. It's much less expensive to just condition your bed than it is to heat the whole house. I love our 8 Sleep pod cover. Best-in-class temperature regulation, sensors to track your health and sleep metrics. You don't have to wear anything. It just knows. Better sleep. It's the health habit you'll love sticking to night after night. Wake up fully energized with the pod cover so you can tackle whatever life throws at you. Go to 8sleep.com/twit. Save $150 at checkout on the pod cover. 8 Sleep currently ships within the U.S., Canada, the U.K., select countries in the EU, and Australia. 8 Sleep, EIGHT, SLEEP, 8sleep.com/twit. All right. I think I'm going to take a walk.
All right.
Because I wanted to, this is something we had a question last week. A guy wanted to add speakers to his Mac, right? And he wanted to know if the studio monitor or there is a monitor with speakers. And I said, no, you want external speakers. So let's talk a little bit about speakers and then maybe even going to the next level. Now, my ears, you're a young guy. You have much better hearing than I do. My ears aren't probably good enough to really appreciate the difference. But if you care and you want to really get the best sound, I'm going to show you how you do it.
So exciting.
So let me take a walk over to Radio Corner. Will you follow me, John? Review of this device. This just came out. You remember the name Creative Labs? Do you remember the sound blaster that you had on your PC, the sound card? PCs didn't have sound in the early days. But eventually you would, they came out with these cards that you'd put in your PC and suddenly you'd get glorious sound coming out of your video game or your music app. Well, Creative's still around. So there it is. The Sound Blaster Creative Labs is still around. This is a $275 box that you connect up to your computer. Now, whether you need it is another question entirely. So let me show you what we've got here set up. You probably know this, but just a refresher. The computer sound is all bits and bytes, ones and zeros, right? Not something you can hear. The sound you're hearing right now is a waveform that goes through the air. That's the sound we're used to. This is digital. That's analog. So we need something to convert the bits and bytes coming out of the computer, the digital, into analog so we can hear it. Now, your computer already has this. It's called a DAC. Digital to analog converter. In fact, because your computer has speakers, which need analog inputs, we know that your computer has a DAC. And most computers also have a headphone jack, as does this one. That's an analog output. So you could just, and most people probably would, and I don't disrecommend it, plug in headphones, and that's all you ever need, right? Or you could even plug in speakers to that. You'd have to have powered speakers, and that's all you'd ever need. But if you want to go the next step and get something a little bit higher quality, I'm going to show you some outboard DACs, devices that you can use outside your computer. Why would you want to do that? Well, for a few reasons. Most computers, because they have to have a bill of parts that's affordable, don't put the best quality digital analog converters in here. Plus, especially on PCs, it's a noisy environment. There's a lot of electrical signaling going on in there. Sometimes after the DAC converts the sound to analog, other noises get in to that wire as it's leading out to your headphone jack. So it's often better to convert the bits and bytes outside the computer into analog sound. I brought along a couple of ways that we've been using to do that. This is, in fact, I've talked about this. Mikah has one of these. This is from iFi. This is called the HIP DAC. This is a battery-powered DAC. So you charge it up before you go. There's a battery in here. Inside, it has a digital analog converter chip, and it has a headphone amplifier. So you can plug in your headphones. It's got a little volume controls, even got bass boost and stuff. So the idea is you'd hook this up to maybe your iPhone or your Android device or even a computer. It's more for travel because of the battery, right? We also have similar devices that are not battery powered that get their juice either from plugging into the wall or plugging into the USB port. This is a company called FiO, makes a lot of these. Notice the logo here says high-res audio. That's another reason people want to do this. Often the digital analog converters in phones and computers can't handle the higher quality 24-bit audio, the 96 or higher bitrate audio that you can buy online. So if you want a better quality audio, you need a better quality digital to analog converter. This is a very typical one. It has line out, it has coax optical out, it has SPDIF optical out, it has a little USB-C connector. That's how you're going to connect it to your computer. And then in the front, you might connect your headphones, balanced or unbalanced. And we'll talk about that a little bit too. It also has a little bass boost, and then you've got a volume control. So this is a headphone amp plus DAC. FiO makes these. These are mostly under $100. You can get fancier, certainly. And when we're talking fancy, I guess I'm going to have to say that this Sound Blaster is pretty fancy. It gets its power from the computer. So I'm going to hook it up here to the USB-C port on my laptop. In fact, you know what I'm going to do so that you can see what's going on? Oops, it's not on this side. I'm going to AirPlay this so that you can see the software, because Sound Blaster provides some software to do this. So there it is. There's the software, the Sound Blaster X5. Now, let's talk a little bit about what this is. It is a DAC, but it is a kind of a fancy DAC. It has dual channel, high-res DACs with fully balanced headphone bi-amplifier. So normally a DAC like the two I've shown you have a single digital analog chip in here, and they connect up to your headphones. This one has one for the left channel and one for the right channel, which is kind of an unusual situation. The DAC in here comes from, I think, is it Cirrus Logic? I should remember this, but it's a big, long number. It's a Cirrus Logic CS43198, 43918 digital to analog converter. If you're an audiophile, you're going to go, oh, that's terrible, or, oh, that's pretty good, depending on your bias here. This device right here is the Sound Blaster. What's cool is it doesn't plug into the wall. It gets all the power it needs from the USB connection to your computer. There it is. Let me move this over so you can see it. It also has Toslink out. Toslink in, which is interesting. You can take inputs from other places. This can be a USB host, and then it has analog. Most of the time you're going to use analog. This has analog in and analog out. This is not, however, an amplifier. So you'll be connecting this, as I mentioned to our caller last week, to powered speakers. I brought in an example of this. I mentioned the audio engines. This is the Audio Engine 2. This is a powered speaker that you can connect to. You plug this into the wall. These do a really good job. You see they're small. Maybe you get a subwoofer, as I have at home as well. But these do a really good job for speakers. But they're powered. They have a built-in amplifier. They don't have a built-in DAC. So you need a DAC plus an amplifier. There is an amplifier in here. It's a headphone amplifier, good enough to drive even the most demanding headphones. These are an example. These are planar magnetic headphones from Hi-Fi Man, very expensive headphones. And if you have, audiophile headphones that are high impedance, this would be a great choice, because this could drive almost anything, balanced or unbalanced. The more expensive headphones this is a balanced input, but unbalanced input, but most expensive headphones are balanced, and they'll give you even better sound. If you're an audiophile, you know. I'm an old man. Honestly, I use the headphone jack connected to powered speakers, but I wanted to show you that you can do a little bit better. This actually I got for Lisa because she has some nice speakers, and I wanted to drive those speakers, powered speakers, with a good quality amp coming out of her Mac Studio. There's buttons on the front that let you choose whether you want headphones or you want speakers to be driven. There's a nice little knob on it for volume control. It's got a interface on it that you can read. I have to say it's a little bit of a cheap plastic box. When you pick it up, you say, well, there's nothing in here, and you're right. There's just a couple of circuit boards in here with the DAC. But at least, it does have the functionality you want, including EQ, and that's where I'm going to show you the software, because on Windows or Mac, it comes with Sound Blaster software that lets you do a lot more than just plug it in. It has an equalizer. I wish it were a parabolic equalizer. It's not. It's just kind of the standard equalizer, which just has a few frequencies. That's better than nothing. And it lets you correct for any oddities in your speakers or your headphones. You can choose the quality here, and you can see it can go all the way up to 32-bit, 384 kilohertz sample rate. So these are good DACs. And again, each channel, left and right, has its own DAC. It does have a microphone jack. I'm not sure I'd recommend it. It has a mini, quarter-inch microphone jack. Most professional microphones that we use have XLR in. This does not have that. I had ordered but have not yet received, so I didn't have it for you today. Maybe I'll show it to you next week. A similar device that has a XLR jack in it. We've used actually for a long time devices like this. This is the Sound Devices Mix Pre. Has an XLR jack for microphone in. This is actually a pretty good device, pro level device. Well, these are about more like $500, right? For these, John, something like that, $600. Yeah, and they hold an SD card, so you can actually record direct on here. Also bus powered via USB-C or USB-A. These are more professional things. So this is twice the cost and probably has a pretty good DAC in it. But if all you want is playback, I think this Sound Blaster is pretty cool. I'm glad the Sound Blaster name's still around. I have to say, it's an excellent headphone amp. Sounds really good with my hi-fi, man. It connects directly up to a PC or a Mac. I guess it would connect to anything with USB audio out. They claim Bluetooth. They only support SBC, which is not the highest quality Bluetooth codec. I think if you buy something like this, you're buying it because you're an audiophile. You're going to be using wired headphones or wired speakers. You're not going to be using Bluetooth. So I'm not sure that makes much of a difference. There are some gaming aspects to this as well. A lot of gamers like to use headsets with a microphone. That's why it has that mini jack for the microphone, because that works better with that works with some headsets or the USB headsets. Sound Blaster makes some pretty good ones for gaming. So does Alienware, many other companies. You just plug those right in, and this would be an excellent amp for your gaming as well. No special effects, just stereo sound. Doesn't support Atmos, Dolby, 5.1, 7.1. It's a stereo DAC with some extra features. I like it. I mean, $275, a lot of money, not for my ears, not recommended for somebody who doesn't care about sound. But if you're an audiophile, you'll know the difference. And I think they've done a pretty nice job. This is their kind of top-of-the-line product from Creative. It's the Sound Blaster. I'm glad they kept that name around. X5. Sound Blaster X5. I would play some music for you, but you really wouldn't be able to hear this. So there you go. I brought in a few things just to play with. Here's another one. This is what we sometimes use at home for some of our hosts. This has an XLR jack on the back for pro mics. That's what that Canon plug is. Headphone out, and then a big nice knob on the front. This converts a regular professional mic like the Heils we use into USB for use in your computer. That's kind of the reverse. That's an A to D converter. It converts analog microphone inputs into digital. All right. Have you seen enough? Let me walk back. We can take some more calls. You're watching Ask the Tech Guys. You want to do another call?
Let's do another call.
Did you have any question? Yeah, somebody in the chat room says he likes Burr Brown DACs. Those are very good, very popular DACs as well. Cirrus Logic is popular. Texas Instruments. I mean, there are a lot of companies that make these chips, and you'll get into big debates with audiophiles over which one's the best.
Well, this one has that extra richness.
You like that i5, right?
Yes, I do a lot. Absolutely.
And you use that with?
I use it with an iPhone, an iPad, when I am listening to albums and I want to, because on its own, the iPhone actually will tell you if you download the music in the highest quality you can get from Apple Music, it will not play back on the iPhone without what they say special hardware, like this.
Yeah.
And so being able to play it back with that and just hear the mouth sounds of the person who's singing is kind of impressive.
Yeah, sometimes people don't want to hear the mouth sounds.
I do. Sometimes. Sometimes I just want to barely hear what's even coming through.
Yeah, Scott Wilkinson recommended the Hip DAC to me, and I got a couple. I gave you one. It's IFI dash, what's the URL?
Yeah, I can't remember the URL.
I'm looking it up right now so I can show it to you. IFI-audio.com. It's battery powered, so it's not really intended as a permanent solution to hook up to a desktop. It's really for portability. But I like it. It's a really cool idea. and it has a very good headphone amp into it. So that's part of it. There's two parts to it, of course. There's converting the digital to audio, the DAC part. That's the chip. But then you have to do something with the output. The output's very low out of those chips, so you usually have an amplifier of some kind, a headphone amplifier if you're going to plug in headphones, or you'll plug it into speakers that have their own amplifier system on them. Let me go back to the phones here. Let's see who we've got. Who's got their hand? Now, Chris from Miami wants to come on, but we gotta
prioritize some new folks.
I gotta tell you, Chris. As we did with the radio show, we're going to kind of limit you to once every couple of weeks or months. So I apologize for that. Who else is interested? Guy, do you want to come on? I don't see some hands raised. Raise your hand if you'd like to come on. I figure if you're in here,
if you're in the lobby, you probably join us.
Right? It means you want to be on the air. Let me press Guy's button, send him on, and we will see him. I see Subaru. We'll get to you as well in just a little bit. Hi, Guy. You're on the air.
Hey, you there?
Yeah. Welcome.
Hey, buddy. How you doing?
I'm great.
Hey, I have a question here. I work for a place that I provide tech support for people as far as giving finding solutions to look up information off of USB keys that I find around.
Whoa, you don't really do that, do you? I just found this in the parking lot. What should I do with it? Should I?
Well, no. Hear me out, please. So, these are kind of like documents that I got to retrieve for people and stuff.
So they're USB keys that they can no longer access.
Right.
Got it.
So basically what I'm trying to do here is that I'm wanting to recover files from there the safest way possible to see if they're actually files that we need, like text documents and stuff like that. I was thinking of kind of like a like a odd machine that have running Linux, and then plug it in, see what's in there. It's not connected to the internet or anything like that, but it allows me to look at the document, and if it's not needed and everything, then I can say, okay, well, I'm safe because it's not connected to a network. Two, it's on a machine that I can data wipe or anything like that.
Right.
What's the best way? I know I could clear the operating system and start fresh. But is there any other way that it could write to any kind of external memory, like, I don't know, BIOS memory?
Let's help you do this. So first of all, you've got this USB key. You don't really know what its provenance is. You don't know if it can have malware on it. And notice what's the first thing that happens when you plug a USB key into a Windows machine? It pops up autoplay. It says, hey,
let me see what's on there.
What? Now, fortunately, that just went away. But fortunately, these days, autoplay doesn't usually automatically launch what's on there. But it's very trivial for a hacker to put something on here that automatically runs unless you've disabled autoplay. So the first thing to do if you're going to do this is disable autoplay. Not a bad idea not to use Windows, because most malware is going to be aimed at Windows, targeted at Windows. So yeah, if you have a Linux computer, that's probably the best thing to do. Boot into Linux, run Linux, not in a VM, but don't be running Windows even in the background. Run Linux 100%. And then what I would do is, before you even do anything, is clone the contents of the drive. So there are cloning tools. You can use DD in Linux, but I would probably go out and get something like CloneZilla that will take ejectable storage, removable storage like this, and image it onto the drive. Once you've got an image, you take this out and you put it away, and then you can actually use it, use the image that you've got on your hard drive to extract any data. Probably a lot safer. There is something called BadUSB. That can be on these things. It's a hack that actually doesn't even show up as part of the storage. It doesn't even have anything to do with autoplay. It's in the firmware. And if you put a USB key with BadUSB inside a computer, the chances are very good that you're going to get you're going to get hacked. You're going to get something bad on your system. So you're right to be worried about this. Do a little Googling of a bad USB, and you can see what the risks are. I think bad USB can even affect Linux computers because I don't think it operates at the operating system level. Let me just do a little search on this. They put malicious software on the firmware, and I don't think Autorun has. So these have, for instance, this is an article from Wikipedia. If they have a programmable microcontroller, it can be reprogrammed. In other words, they flash the microcontroller. It emulates a keyboard. Once it's plugged in, as an example, it's recognized as a keyboard and allowed to interact with a computer. It's almost as if the bad guy is sitting there typing at your keyboard, and then they can issue some commands. So read up on, this is the thing that's most scary as far as I'm concerned on USB keys. And they call it a candy drop. Bad guys will put bad USB or other malware, Autorun malware, on a bunch of USB keys. They're cheap, and leave a couple in the parking lot or in the stairs in the parking garage or just outside a company that he wants to hack. Broadcom used to be next door, and we'd find little USB keys just sitting out in the parking lot. Maybe they're even labeled Broadcom, right? Those are almost certainly not from Broadcom. Those are from bad guys who hope that somebody at Broadcom, which, by the way, did recently get hacked, will find this in the parking lot and stick it in their machine. So you really got to be very, very, very careful with these. It's more than just the plain old Autorun. If it's Autorun, turning off Autorun using Linux is going to help you. If it's bad USB, I don't know what you do about bad USB. Steve Gibson has talked in the past about what he calls USB condoms. No, they won't work. Yeah, they won't work with these because what they're for is charging. So there's also a risk when you plug in. Let's say you go to a bar and at the bar there's a little device, as there often is, on the bar. It says, "Hey, charge your phone while you have a beer," and you plug into that. Except that device isn't just a charger; it's got data. USB has data, and so it can get into your device while you're charging. So the USB condom is just a simple thing, and I actually carry one in my briefcase. Just a simple thing you put on your charger before you plug into the bar. It only passes charging power; it doesn't pass data. But that's not going to be any good for you because you want the data. You need the data. So very interesting issue. Honestly, you're being a good Samaritan. But if you really do want to pursue this, I would pursue it very, very carefully. Bad USB was revealed at Black Hat in 2014, so it's been around for a while. There is a USG dongle, which acts like a hardware firewall designed to prevent bad USB-style attacks. So that would be a condom that does pass data, but doesn't pass bad USB code. In March 2020, according to Wikipedia, the FBI said that the Fin7 cybercrime group had been targeting companies in retail, restaurant, and hotel industries with bad USB attacks designed to deliver ransomware. So you find this in the parking lot. You go, "Hey, I got a free USB key." You plug it in your computer. You happen to be at work. Suddenly, everybody at work says, "Wait a minute, we're offline. Everything's been encrypted." You just infected your entire business. So I'd be very, very, very careful. One intended target was sent a package in the mail which contained a fake gift card from Best Buy, as well as a USB flash drive with a letter saying, "Plug the drive into your computer to access a list of items that can be purchased with the gift card." Who wouldn't do that? You, because you've been watching this show, you would know. When tested, the USB drive emulated a keyboard. You've seen that. That's how YubiKeys work, right? Those USB keys, when you plug them in, they spit out a string of characters. That's because there's a standard, even on Linux, unfortunately, for a human interface device. When it sees, that's why you can plug in a mouse or a keyboard into any Linux machine and it works, because it understands it as a human interface device. Well, it understands these as one of those too. So I'll see if I can find.
I've always wondered how these forensics folks do that. You know, I would love at times to get some of these devices and have a machine with the proper stuff because they're doing it somehow. They know what they're doing to be able to find this. And I have always been curious if there's just some sort of quarantined machine with special hardware. And you mentioned this hardware condom, essentially, that I had never heard of before.
This is an article from Hexus.net about the USG dongle that protects you from bad USB. But this was a few years ago. I don't know if anybody's still selling this. It's a USB condom that passes data, and that's the key. It has to pass data as well as power. A guy named Robert Fisk is selling these directly if you contact him, but it's also open source, so you can build your own. And it's for the truly paranoid. You might even want to build your own USG firmware.
If you could,
it's on GitHub.
Run a non-networked computer with an operating system completely in RAM. Then you just turn it off afterward. Everything would go away.
Or even if it's on hard drive and you wipe the drive afterwards.
That's what. See, I get suspicious though that I missed the part. You know what I mean? The wipe didn't actually remove the part that's bad.
and you asked
firmware.
Reasonably. You asked, well, what about if it attacks exactly the firmware of my system, and even if I reboot, am I still going to be vulnerable? And I'll be honest, I don't know what kinds of attacks this USB. Bad USB can initiate, but since it could type almost anything, I'm worried.
Yeah, that's one of the things that I have in my travel toolkit is a PortaPal, that USB condom that you were talking about.
Yeah, that's the one Steve recommended. Yeah.
That is just something that if you travel and everything, especially in airports and stuff like that.
Always use the PortaPal.
Even if it's not a data port and everything, you just want to make sure that you have a PortaPal between your USB connection and anything that you plug a USB in, because
I love this. You're smart. So you kind of knew there was what the risk was. And it's a legit question. How could I do this? And I imagine the law enforcement has ways and means. Probably a computer that is air gapped and can be wiped, or maybe doing it in RAM. I still would worry because remember, this is a hardware attack. So even if your operating system's in RAM,
we need to talk to those Red Hat folks. What do they do? Because they've you've got annual events.
Black Hat folks.
Sorry, yes. Black Hat. Thank you, Black Hat folks.
Yes. Well, I guess they don't let you bring USB drives into the building. Is what would be my guess.
But they've discovered stuff.
Yeah,
so they're using machines that can do it, and they're not worried about it.
It's a great question. I don't know if we actually have the ultimate answer to that, but it's a really good question. Let us know if you find a way to do it. That one thing that I mentioned, the USG dongle, is on GitHub, so I guess you could build one of these. And I'm not sure how it works. It's a kind of like a firewall, basically, I guess.
Well, I posed a question to some friends of mine and stuff, that like to talk tech and stuff. And I thought I'd call in and see if your audience could talk about it. I even had one guy recommend that I just buy a Pi computer and put it on the little micro USB. Or
the key is air gap it, right? Mm-hmm. Because that's the guys who did the ransomware, you put in the computer, and even if it's a Raspberry Pi, if it's on your network, the very first thing that ransomware is going to do is go out as a worm on your network and look for other machines it can infect. So air gap it from the network. And I guess you'd be all right. The worst that could happen is you lose your Raspberry Pi. These days, that's a big thing. That's a big deal.
Well, they said the difference between a Pi 3 and the earlier versions. Pi, you can still write to a firmware, or the older Pis you can't write to it because it's all stored on the card and stuff.
Right.
Information stored in the card. So that's the solution I'm trying to say is that if it's an older Pi, just chunk the card.
You throw out the TF card and the micro SD and start over. Yeah, that's right. As long as it doesn't write to the firmware. Mm-hmm. The problem is, you understand with the bad USB, that all the bad USB does is modify the firmware in the USB drive to spit out characters. Then it's up to the hacker what characters it spits out. So It doesn't specify what the attack is. So it could be, in theory, it could be attack that attacks your firmware. It could write to your video card. It could, I mean, the sky's the limit.
Yeah.
And so we don't know what the attack would be. We just know that it's possible to modify these. So even without autoplay, even without anything at all on the storage, because the attack comes from the firmware, you could turn these into, bad devices, attack devices. Right. So
well, I'd like to end my call with a little bit of gratitude. Mikah, I appreciate you. You're a rising star in the tech community and everything. I do appreciate you very much as far as your input.
That's
Leo, I've been a long-time listener and everything. So, immense amount of gratitude to come up with intellectual conversation concerning technology, and I appreciate you and your network very much.
Oh, Guy, you're very sweet. I thank you.
So
I know for a lot of people who listen to the Tech Guy, it was a little disorienting that we were off the radio, makes it hard to listen to. Some people said, well, I just want Leo, I don't want Mikah. But I agree with you, Guy. Mikah is the future, right? And
yes,
and if I'm not gonna be able to do this forever. So we got to bring up the young people here. We got to bring them up and get them going.
Oh, I forgot one more thing. Back in 1993, I was an admin for a first-class client BBS concerning your BBS
yes
earlier and everything.
Yes,
I was an admin for a first-class client by SoftArc.
I remember that.
Mac user group.
Yeah.
It was the mini AOL version and everything, and I started going into a YouTube hole, finding that BBS documentary and everything.
That's
so I'm gonna
awesome.
watch that, and I'm just going to have all sorts of memories.
That's
come up.
awesome. Yeah, watch that BBS documentary. You will absolutely go, oh wow, because I've forgotten half of that stuff. You'll go, oh, I remember that now. That's great. Thank you, Guy. I appreciate it.
Thank you, sir.
Take
Thank
care.
you, Mikah.
I'm looking at Stack Exchange detection of bad USB. Boy, in fact, this person's asking a similar question. We want to be able to reuse flash drives that could potentially be affected by bad USB. Let's see. Here you will find a guide. Let's see if this is still around. What's interesting is we're still talking about bad USB. It was discovered 9 years ago. Wow. And I don't think it's ever been fixed. So this is from Heimdall. How to fix the bad USB security flaw in less than 10 minutes. Well, that's interesting. I wonder if you have to modify the firmware, create a blacklist. All right, this might be, let's put this in the show notes. This is in Windows. You use policy edit to blacklist. Maybe it's just preventing USB drives. I don't know. Yeah, okay, this is a good one. Controlling the automatic installation of USB keyboards, because that's required, right? When you put in the drive,
okay, yeah,
it has to turn into a keyboard. Or similarly for NIC or Bluetooth, avoid automatic USB installation.
Windows.
Yeah, this is Windows specifically. Some of it is not going to be useful, like disabling USB ports. It's funny that this bad USB has not gone away. I think and Heimdall, of course, sells an antivirus, so that's probably their last recommendation. One of the things to remember is that it's just a hard attack, that you have to have something that can modify the hardware, the firmware. You have to have a chip burner kind of a device to do this. So it's not a trivial attack that some script kiddie could do. It's something to be scared of.
Takes wake.
Let me do one more ad, and then we're going to get some calls. You said you had some email?
I've got an email and a demo, so.
Oh, you have a demo too?
I've got a demo too.
Do you want to go over there or do it
I'll do it over there.
Oh.
If you want to do the ad, and I'll go over there.
I'll do the ad while you're setting up.
Sounds good.
How's about that? Our show today brought to you by Melissa. I love these guys at Melissa, the leading provider, I would say, of global data quality, identity verification, and address management solutions. They just announced a successful partnership with TomTom. You know that name. The global provider in SatNav, satellite navigation for consumer use. By layering TomTom's comprehensive global address data, location data, and country data on top of Melissa's industry-leading data quality enrichment and identity verification solutions, Melissa has earned its reputation as the address experts. They're not sitting on their laurels, though. I love that. They're getting better all the time. Let's talk about some of the issues when it comes to email or mail addresses, snail mail addresses. If you're going to verify addresses, you got to do it in multiple languages and multiple formats. Not every country is the same. That's where TomTom can come in. They ingest country data into a global standardized data set. They handle the various addressing nuances country by country, which means Melissa is now the best solution, efficient and seamless for going through your address list, fixing it up, and making it work. You know, I found out they don't have street numbers, house numbers in Venice, Italy. I don't know how they deliver mail, but they've got a system. TomTom supports it, and Melissa does too as a result. That's why Melissa has global support across 240 countries and territories. We talked to Greg Brown. He's a VP of Global Marketing, Melissa. He said, by adding TomTom's rooftop precision capabilities to our solutions, Melissa customers can rest assured their data is not only clean and verified, but also pinpoint accurate and high value to business operations. This ensures that restaurants are found, packages are delivered to the right place, on-demand drivers find their passengers, and so much more. You can see how important good data quality is to almost every single business. And bad data quality can cost you an average of $15 million every year. Of course, the longer it stays in your system, the more losses your business could accumulate. By leveraging TomTom maps, points of interest, 7-digit postal codes, address points, and routing API, Melissa provides a best-of-breed address engine critical to business needs worldwide. And they've been doing it forever, since 1985. Melissa, we're going to have a party in 2025, 40th anniversary party for Melissa, aren't we? That's going to be awesome. Melissa is specialized in global intelligence solutions to help organizations unlock accurate data for a more compelling customer view. And by the way, goes without saying, but I'm going to say it anyway, Melissa takes care of your data like it's their own. They continually undergo independent security audits to reinforce their commitment to data security, privacy, and compliance. They're SOC 2 compliant, HIPAA, GDPR, so you know your data is in the best hands. Make sure your customer contact data is up to date. Get started today with 1,000 records cleaned for free. Melissa.com/twit. We love these guys. Great company, providing a much-needed service for businesses everywhere. Melissa, MELISSA.com/twit. Thank you, Melissa, for supporting us. And you, dear listener, dear viewer, you support us when you use that address so that they know you saw it here. Melissa.com/twit. I'm going to now throw you to the other side of the studio. Over to Radio Corner, where Mikah has got a little demo for us. What you got there, Mikah?
Yeah, so Con has written in, says, hello from Stockholm, Sweden. Really enjoying the new show. I was wondering if you could help me with recovering my data from an iPhone backup. A few years ago, I messed up my iPhone, but I have a backup file on my Mac. I don't have an iPhone anymore, but I would like to recover whatever it is in that backup file. There may be some photos on there of my late father that I just realized are not in my iCloud backup. The photos are very important, as these were the last photos I took before he passed away in the first wave of COVID. So sorry, Con. Can you recommend a good recovery software that I can use? And Con, yes, I can. So we've talked a lot about this application on the show before, and I'm actually using a demo version of it here. This is iMazing, and as you can see, I don't have it licensed on this machine, although I do have a license on other machines, but I wanted to show what you can do without that. So right now, I have an iPad plugged in, and so it is connected, and I did a backup. But what I can do to show you that you don't need to have the device itself is I can unplug this, and so now the iPad is not plugged in anymore, but because I did a backup to this machine, I will click in the top right corner here where I can see the different backups that have taken place. And earlier today, I did this backup, and I've already clicked to view this backup. So what is brought up here are all of these options. Here on the left, I can see the photos, the messages, the phone calls, what's going on with Safari, even as far down as looking at the file system. So I can click on, and I will click on File System here, and it's going to go into the backup that was just done and show me some of the stuff that was stored in this actual iPad backup. Now, you've got different options here. to kind of dig in, you got to play around a little bit, because depending on how old your iPhone is and how old the operating system is on it, these folders are going to be named differently. But typically, you can find what you're looking for in the apps section or in some of these app group sections. The easier way to do this is, instead of using the file system, you could just simply click on photos here, and then it will load those photos, and you will be able to click to open any of these and export them right to your Mac. As long as the backup is stored in the default location, you will have this stuff pop up automatically. If it's not stored in the default location, iMazing has an option for you in the settings to choose where these devices are backing up, and that will give you the ability to choose. And so you can see here, default library location, as well as the backup here and the default location for that backup. So then it will look in those places. You can add wherever you've got your backup stored. It'll pop it open right here, and immediately you can export everything as a folder, export all of the data from the device, even export the raw files if you want to, or simply show in Finder, meaning that it will pop open that backup file in Finder. You'll be able to click inside and get to those photos that you're looking for. So iMazing, incredible. As I said, this is just the free version, so you are able to do a lot with the trial within, I think it's the first 14 days. So give iMazing a shot and see if that works for you, to be able to get that backup right off of your machine and get into it. I use this tool all the time for doing complete backups of my devices. One of the things that makes this different from what we have standard, because I could take this iPad and plug it in, and in the Finder, I can do a backup. But the problem with that is I only have so much storage on this computer, right? And if I want to do a full backup of my iPhone, which has a lot of storage space, I need a place to put it. So I can actually back up to my network attached storage directly and keep that off of my main machine. So very handy and all encompassing. There's a lot that you can do with iMazing, but the simple feature there is to dig into that backup that you made, get those photos off, and you'll be good to go. So thank you for that question, Con.
You convinced me long ago to buy iMazing, and I never looked back, never regretted it. Can you, though, I'm curious, still back up your iPhone to your computer? If I hook it up on a Mac, can I still just make a backup?
Yeah,
right?
You can absolutely do a normal backup. In fact, iMazing, that's a great thing about it, is that most of the time it is doing the standard backup
interesting.
that Apple already does.
Oh.
It's just, it knows how to get into those backups and
otherwise
be able to access it.
Normally you can't look at it.
Correct.
So iMazing is really just an interface to that.
Absolutely.
Yeah, interesting. Hey, Suparu is on the line while Mikah comes on back. Let's bring him in. Suparu, are you?
Hi, Leo.
He's a chili guy, right, Mikah?
Yes, he is. He's the chili guy.
Are you making some tomorrow for the big game, Suparu?
I think I might.
I have your recipe. Mikah sent it to me.
Yeah.
So I shouldn't have bought those 2 cans of Dennison. Obviously, I should have made my own from scratch. What can we do for you, Suparu?
Leo, my Oki data printer is not.
No, stop it! Go away! Hang up on
No, sorry.
Hang up. Suparu is making fun of the fact that on the old radio show, I used to get a lot of printer questions, and there's not much you could do with a printer if it's not working except throw it out. They make them that way. But you don't have an Oki data, I hope.
Not anymore.
Okay.
Hey, I've been using Steve Gibson's DNS benchmark and another program called NameBench, and discovered that Comcast DNS is not very good.
Yeah.
And I've been playing around inside my Windows computer and figure out how to use Cloudflare.
Good.
That's what I use.
And I also was able to get into my Comcast modem and change it there. My question is, maybe you can clarify this, is does the computer setting override what the modem is set at if they're not the same?
It can, yeah. So let's define some terms, because obviously Suparu is a super user, and he's doing some pretty sophisticated stuff here. When you type into your browser, I want to go to yahoo.com, your computer actually can't go to yahoo.com. It needs a phone number. It's just as if I say on the telephone, I want to call Mikah Sargent, I need your phone number, right? So we have something called the domain name system that's like 411 for computer domains. And the way it works is your browser first checks to see if it already knows, because maybe you visited Yahoo recently. It would be in the browser's cache or the computer operating system's cache of sites you've recently visited. And it'll go, oh, Yahoo, that's 168.1.3.4. And then the browser can get there. It needs that phone number to route across the internet. If the computer doesn't know, then the computer will go up to the next higher authority. Usually that's the internet service provider. Sometimes it's your router. Your router has a cache as well. So it might go to your router. Router doesn't know, it goes to the internet service provider. Internet service provider doesn't know, it goes on up the chain all the way to the final authority, the big phone book in the sky, which is 13 servers scattered around the world, the official canonical DNS servers. So when you register a domain name, let's say I register leolaporte.com. I bought that from, let's say, our sponsor, Hover. What Hover does is they say, okay, leolaporte.com goes to this address. And by the way, initially it doesn't go to anywhere but Hover, right? Hover has a dummy address that it uses. Until you set up something, a website or something else, an email or whatever, it just goes to Hover. That's why when you see a brand new site, often it just says hover.com. This site is not yet set up, that kind of thing. So it sends that information up to the big phone books in the sky. And those guys have every dot address, every internet address, and every English language and by the way, it's every language under the sun. So every address on the globe, and they have the lookup. They have the 411 for all of those. So that's DNS, the domain name system. It's actually a miraculous system that works quite well. If there are problems, you'll know because so many sites will go off the internet, but for the most part, it works flawlessly. So now that you understand that, let's talk about what Subaru is doing. So I mentioned that if you don't know, your computer doesn't know, your router doesn't know what that address is, it asks the internet service provider. That's actually a mistake. That's a lie, because by default, it will ask your ISP, but really it asks whatever the official DNS server is in your settings. So if you go and you look at your network settings, if there's nothing there, it uses the internet service provider's DNS server, and all ISPs run a DNS server. But you can put something there. You can put something else there. You could put another DNS server in there. And most DNS servers are set up to be available to the public and usable. Google has its own DNS servers you can use. Verizon has it. There's 8.8.8.8. There's 4.4.4.4. We've mentioned OpenDNS before. Subaru, you said you're using Cloudflare. That's 1.1.1.1. Pretty easy to remember. So you put that in either your computer's network settings. You'll see if you go into network settings, in fact, I could open that up. You'll see that there is a place you could put that in. But if you want to put it in globally, you don't put anything in the computer's network settings, and you put it in your router. You'll notice when you go to your network settings that your computer has an address for the router. Usually, 192.168.1.1, wherever the router is. That's the first place the computer is going to go to check for DNS. But if there's nothing there, it will go to something in your DNS settings. So let's go into my advanced network settings here. This is on Windows. I'm on. I haven't looked at this Windows interface in a long time.
We can show my screen if I'm still connected.
Are you connected? All right, so there's the adapter. There you go. That's a little more familiar to me. That's Macintosh.
Yeah, we've got the DNS servers. I don't know. Should I say these out loud? It's fine, I guess. So it's, should we not? No, it doesn't hurt. Okay, 10.135.22.11, and then the same .12.
So I'll give you a little hint. There are two non-routable IP address ranges. The ones that begin with 192 and the ones that begin with 10. Those are always internal. So by just when you tell me that, I know that you are using a DNS server inside the building because it's 10. Right? So that's something we've set up. The reason you can say it out loud is nobody can access it because it's not routable. So they can't, if they type 10 dot, they'll get something in their building, not our building.
Right.
So we don't have to worry about that. But that's because we're on a corporate network and our IT department, AKA Russell, set up a server for us. He's probably got it routed out to somewhere else, maybe to SonicNet, one of our providers, or Comcast, another provider. But he does that all himself. So you can change that. But you asked the question, Subaru, you've changed it in your router. That's actually the best place to do it because that affects everybody. Mm-hmm. So everybody's now using Cloudflare 1.1.1.1. The advantage of doing that, well, there's several. You mentioned it's faster. Here's Steve's DNS benchmark program. There are quite a few of them out there. The way it works is you run it, and it will go out and it'll query a bunch of different name servers and tell you who's the fastest. You might add some name servers. It probably doesn't have 1.1.1 in it. It probably also doesn't have Comcast's or whoever your internet service providers is. So you might add those. There are other companies that make DNS benchmarks. Steve's free at grc.com. So then you can find out who the fastest is. That's going to vary, of course, depending on time of day, who else is using it, things like that. Cloudflare is very fast. Is that the one you use?
I use Cloudflare at home.
I use for a long time I used OpenDNS. Now I use NextDNS, NextDNS.io. That's a paid service that adds a lot of other features because it turns out if you have to go through a DNS server to look up an address, you can do things like block addresses for your kids.
Yes.
Or hide your privacy. There's a lot of things you can do when you control a DNS server. So companies like Cloudflare, they have 1.1.1.1, which is their basic service. They have 1.1.1.2, .3, and I think they have .4 that do more and more to protect you from malware, things like that. They're preventing you from going to sites that have bad stuff on them, things like that. So I think Cloudflare is a good one to use. OpenDNS is good. You can use Verizon's, you can use Google's. There's a lot of companies that will allow you to use their DNS servers. Use whichever one is faster. And I think you're fine. But to answer your base question, take the settings out of all the computers because
if you don't touch it and you connect to your router, then it's going to listen through that. But the moment that you touch it in the settings and you change it, that's what's going to stick. So what Leo's saying is if you put anything in there, take those out and let that universal choice that you've made on your router be the thing that gets disseminated to all the devices that you're using.
I swear to God, I don't know what Windows has done with these settings.
Yeah. Where are they?
Here they are. Well, wait a minute. That says under Ethernet, but I'm not on Ethernet. That's interesting. So I don't know how this works, to be honest with you. It's crazy. It should be under Wi-Fi. Let's see. But under Wi-Fi, TWiT on air properties. I don't know what any of this stuff. I don't know where DNS is. Maybe if I just searched. How about that? Nowadays, modern operating systems
let you search.
You're pretty much, and there's no results. So forget it.
I've had a feeling.
Boy, I gotta learn Windows. They've changed everything with Windows 11. I don't even know what's going on here. But yeah, that's the idea. If you haven't set a server, then your default is the router, and you don't have to worry about anything. The router will handle that, and it'll use your ISP until you change the router. Does that all make sense, Subaru?
Thank you. It is much appreciated.
Yeah, and go to 1.1.1.1 and look at the various things that Cloudflare offers, because you might want actually a more advanced system than 1.1.1.1. And they talk about these other things. I like Cloudflare. I really have a lot of respect for them. We're friends with John Graham Cumming, their CTO. It's a great company. But some people are worried that Cloudflare is kind of snarfing up all of the internet. And of course, one of the reasons they give this away is because they now know everywhere you go. They say they're the fastest DNS resolver on earth. Well, that's pretty good. Speed does matter because that's the amount of time it takes from you entering yahoo.com to actually getting to the page. That whole DNS thing has to happen. I'm very happy with NextDNS. I don't mind paying them for the privilege.
Judy Rue says hi.
Hi, Judy Rue.
Judy Rue.
Hi.
Thank you.
I just got back from Trader Joe's.
Uh-oh. Let me guess. Did she buy some chili? Mixins, fixins.
Chips and caramelized onion dip. And
Oh, you're getting ready. The big game is coming.
Yep.
That's nice.
Happy
That's nice.
Saturday.
All right, take care. Happy Saturday. Yeah, Lisa went out shopping. Thanks, Subaru. Take care. Lisa went out shopping, and she said, I think we're having 9 or 10 people over. She said, I was going to get pizza, but maybe we'll have a cookout. I said, oh, good to know. That involves me. I'll be getting ready for the cookout. Hey, everybody. Leo Laporte here. I am the founder and one of the hosts at the TWiT Podcast Network. I want to talk to you a little bit about what we do here at TWiT, because I think it's unique. And I think for anybody who is bringing a product or a service to a tech audience, you need to know about what we do here at TWiT. We've built an amazing audience of engaged, intelligent, affluent listeners who listen to us and trust us when we recommend a product. Our mission statement as TWiT is to build a highly engaged community of tech enthusiasts. Well, already your ears should be perking up at that, because highly engaged is good for you. Tech enthusiasts, if that's who you're looking for, this is the place. We do it by offering them the knowledge they need to understand and use technology in today's world. And I hear from our audience all the time, part of that knowledge comes from our advertisers. We are very careful. We pick advertisers with great products, great services, with integrity, and introduce them to our audience with authenticity and genuine enthusiasm. And that makes our host-read ads different from anything else you can buy. We are literally bringing you to the attention of our audience and giving you a big, fat endorsement. We like to create partnerships with trusted brands who are in it for the long run, long-term partners that want to grow with us. And we have so many great success stories. Tim Broom, who founded IT Pro TV in 2013, started advertising with us on day one, has been with us ever since. He said, quote, "We would not be where we are today without the TWiT network." I think the proof is in the pudding. Advertisers like IT Pro TV and Audible that have been with us for more than 10 years, they stick around because their ads work. And honestly, isn't that why you're buying advertising? You get a lot with TWiT. We have a very full-service attitude. We almost think of it as kind of artisanal advertising, boutique advertising. You'll get a full-service continuity team. People who are on the phone with you, who are in touch with you, who support you with everything from copywriting to graphic design. So you are not alone in this. We embed our ads into the shows. They're not added later. They're part of the shows. In fact, often they're such a part of our shows that our other hosts will chime in on the ad saying, yeah, I love that. Or just the other day, one of our hosts said, man, I really got to buy that. That's an additional benefit to you because you're hearing people our audience trusts saying, yeah, that sounds great. We always over-deliver on impressions, so you know you're going to get the impressions you expect. The ads are unique every time. We don't pre-record them and roll them in. We are genuinely doing those ads in the middle of the show. We'll give you great onboarding services. Ad tech with pod sites, that's free for direct clients. Gives you a lot of reporting, gives you a great idea of how well your ads are working. You'll get courtesy commercials. You actually can take our ads and share them across social media and landing pages. That really extends the reach. There are other free goodies too, including mentions in our weekly newsletter that's sent to thousands of fans, engaged fans who really want to see this stuff. We give you bonus ads and social media promotion too. So if you want to be a long-term partner, introduce your product to a savvy, engaged tech audience. Visit twit.tv/advertise. Check out those testimonials. Mark McCrary is the CEO of Authentic. You probably know him, one of the biggest original podcast advertising companies. We've been with him for 16 years. Mark said the feedback from many advertisers over 16 years across a range of product categories, everything from razors to computers, is that if ads and podcasts are going to work for a brand, they're going to work on TWiT shows. I'm very proud of what we do because it's honest, it's got integrity, it's authentic, and it really is a great introduction to our audience of your brand. Our listeners are smart, They're engaged. They're tech savvy. They're dedicated to our network. And that's one of the reasons we only work with high integrity partners that we've personally and thoroughly vetted. I have absolute approval on everybody. If you've got a great product, I want to hear from you. Elevate your brand by reaching out today at advertise@twit.tv. Break out of the advertising norm. Grow your brand with host-read ads on twit.tv. Visit twit.tv/advertise for more details, or you can email us advertise@twit.tv if you're ready to launch your campaign now. I can't wait to see your product. So give us a ring. Do you have any other emails, or is that
the email I had to answer this time? Yeah, the email of the day.
The email of the day. Well, then I think we could take a few more calls before we wrap this thing up. Let's see.
Sounds good.
Who else is in our Larry? I'm going to pick up Larry. Larry, I'm sending you to the breakout room. I've been saying your name in vain this whole time. Hi, Larry. Where are you calling from? Let's see if he's muted.
Hey, I'm in Petaluma.
What?
Whoa!
Down the road a piece.
Down the road. You took me by surprise. I hadn't put my hand up, and I tried to get in the last 2 weeks, and here I am.
Well, you made it at the tail end of the show. Hello, neighbor. Come on over for the Super Bowl. Everybody else in town is coming over.
Hey,
send me the address. I'll be there. Yeah. I'm actually about 5 minutes from your studio.
Oh, nice. Our studio is not yet open to the public because I think COVID isn't quite over yet. We've been slowly bringing people in. We had it was great. I had Daniel Suarez in yesterday for our Triangulation. It was so nice to see a human, but we're still a little reluctant. If it's just me, it's fine. But I don't want to. I want to protect our staff and team.
No, I hear you. I'm still wearing masks when I go into public places.
Yeah,
people are looking at me kind of odd, but that's okay.
Yep, that's how I feel too. They look at me, but I don't care.
I saw you the other day at Petaluma Market. I thought, who's that weirdo?
Yeah, you're the other person I see around town who's still wearing a mask.
One's Mikah and one's Larry. What can we do for you, Larry?
Well, I was calling about LastPass, which I unceremoniously dumped about 2 months ago.
As did many of us, yes.
But in the process, I went from a paid plan, which you had recommended several years ago, and was happy with them until the security breach. But in the meantime, they've now got me free on the free. I have tried at least a dozen times to delete my account, and it will not let me do it. I tried their tech support, which is totally useless. And I'm just wondering, maybe I'm getting a little paranoid here, but I'm just wondering whether there's preventing people from actually deleting their accounts for some nefarious reason.
Maybe they think you'll just tire of it and just stick around, and they won't lose you as a customer.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, the fact that I've changed all my important passwords, and I've gone to Bitwarden as you recommended, and so far I'm happy with them.
But you're right. That last step is, in fact, Steve was talking about this a couple of weeks ago. Steve Gibson on Security Now. You want to delete your LastPass vault so that they don't have access to your passwords, because that vault still has your passwords. Now, if you've gone through the process, if you've moved over to another password manager and you've gone through the process of fixing your passwords, which you probably still do no matter what, you want to do that because LastPass did lose earlier versions of the vault. That's why people are leaving LastPass. They had a breach and the vaults were leaked by accident. The good news is those vaults are encrypted. It's going to take a bad guy a lot of effort to get into them if they have a good, long, strong password. So you're probably okay. You're using a good, long password, right?
Oh, yeah. I changed all my passwords within Bitwarden, and I think they're at least 14 to 16 characters.
Yeah, and your master password should be long, as close to random as you can get. Remember, you got to memorize it. So, and you should turn up on LastPass even, it's not too late to protect that vault. It's too late to protect the one that got away, but the reason you want to delete the vault is in case LastPass has another breach, right? And there's no, that it happens once. You could say, well, now they'll make sure it never happens again. That's possible. Or it could be that whatever poor security practices they had have not been fixed. Usually it's the latter, right? When somebody gets breached, they often get breached again. Look at T-Mobile. I would say as long as you can still log into LastPass because your password's still there, turn up your your password hash derivative function, your PBKDF2, to the highest setting it'll let you. Usually that's 2 million. That protects you. Having a good, and maybe change your password so it's really long and strong. That protects you. And then you're gonna, even if you can't delete it, I'd still try to delete it, but if you can't delete it, even if they had a breach, you have a long, strong password to put two-factor. No, two-factor is not going to help in that case. But put a long, strong password and update up the settings for your PBKDF2 hash to the highest setting possible, 2 million. That's going to protect you. That's going to make it hard for a hacker. Hackers are going to go after the low-hanging fruit first. They can see how many iterations on the hash. And so they're going to go after people with iterations, of a lower number, 1 in some cases, 500 in many cases. Those are the ones they're going to go after.
Well, I did increase it after you talked about it a couple of weeks ago. I didn't go that high, so I will go
as high as you can, because now you don't care if it's slow to load, because you're not using it.
Yeah, and there won't be anything in it, so it'll load faster, right?
And then the most important thing you already did, which is when you move to the new password manager, now change your passwords. Turn on two-factor everywhere you can. Turn up your Bitwarden PBKDF2. I turned mine up to 2 million on Bitwarden. It doesn't slow it down appreciably.
I think I did mine to 500. Maybe I should go higher.
It should be at least 500,000. I'm sure that you said that, not 500. Yeah. 500,000. The Bitwarden was 100,100, I think. They recently went up to 300,000. You want it as high as, honestly, it doesn't slow things down that much. You want it as high as you can. What that does is it makes it harder to brute force.
Right.
Having a good long password also makes it much harder to brute force. If you have a good long, I recently changed my password. Besides turning up.
Part of my reason for wanting to call is I'm wondering whether this is actually. I'm wondering whether other people are having this difficulty and whether this is actually intentional. I
can't imagine it's intentional, but it's just a further sign of bad engineering.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. I mean, what made me paranoid is when you mentioned that they were bought by a venture capital firm.
Yeah.
And I thought, oh my God, that's an inside job here.
I think this is what happened. LastPass was a great company. Steve vetted it, talked to the founder, Joe Segrist. But Joe left. Company got bought by LogMeIn, then sold it to a private equity company. Private equity companies spun it out. So it's been through all these processes. I have to say, clearly their energies were put on making it look good. It's really nice. The user interface has gotten better and better. It's a really nice password manager on the surface. But I think they might have let go some of the engineers who were responsible for keeping it secure. And that's, it's one thing to look good on the surface. You got to be good. You got to be pretty under the hood too.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah.
So I think that's probably what happened. We don't know. I don't, and you're right. There may be the private. There's no way they're saying, don't let anybody delete their password vault. That can't possibly be. Just keep trying.
I don't know.
And nobody in the chat room is saying they're having this trouble, right?
Okay, good.
I deleted mine when I left LastPass a couple of years ago.
Yeah, that was part of my purpose of calling, is that if you got a barrage of other people.
Yeah, no, that's the reasonable thing to ask.
I've had a lot of people who had trouble changing their password on LastPass after everything happened. That first time when they went in and they tried to change it, they ended up having to call support and get support to do something behind the scenes. But actually deleting, I've not heard from too many people who've had a problem deleting. So that is interesting that you've ran into that issue.
Yeah.
Yeah, they have two ways to do it. They have one with your password or one without. I've done it both ways. When you say, I don't remember my password, they send you an email with a link. And I've done that at least a half a dozen times, and none of them.
What happens at the end when you say it doesn't work?
I get an error message saying account not deleted. Something went wrong. Account's not deleted.
I'm wondering at this point you may have triggered security protections. So they may have said, "Oh, this guy's weird. We see all these weird stuff happening with this guy. Let's prevent him from changing anything. Let it rest for a few weeks." Nobody in our IRC or in our Discord is saying anything, so I don't think it's a common problem. I will check around, but I think this often is the case. When you change things because you're trying to get out of there, they see that as an attack, and they go, "Oh, lock it down." And now you can't change anything, right?
Yeah.
Give it a few weeks.
even when I contacted their help support, their support, which I had to do through, they didn't really have a portal that I could find. So I went through their billing support portal, and I did get somebody to respond, but they basically kept saying, do the same thing you've already done.
Yeah. They don't know. They have a notebook. They don't know.
Yeah.
All right. Well, if I had any contacts there, I would ask, but I don't. They don't like us anymore.
I wonder why.
Hey, a real pleasure to talk to you. Thank you for calling. Thanks for being so patient. I know you wanted to get in earlier. Thank you for hanging in there with us.
Thank you, neighbor.
Thank you.
I'll see you at Petaluma Market.
See you at the market.
So I'm going to root for the Kansas City Chiefs. Okay. And that young, good-looking fella, Patrick Mahomes, tomorrow for the Super Bowl. I hope you found us. Glad you did, if you did. If you're watching this on Sunday saying, what happened? We didn't want to compete with that big game that's going on.
There are lots of shows that didn't want to compete with the big game either. They usually come out on Sundays. They ended up coming out.
Yeah, Last of Us came out Thursday for some reason. Yeah. So we are going to do This Week in Tech next. A rare Sunday recording. So if you're watching live,
Saturday recording.
A rare Saturday recording. See, even I don't know. We're going to do coming up in just a little bit as we reset the studio. People have been asking, "What's that I'm wearing?"
I was wondering. It's a cool chip of some sort, right?
Yeah, I found this. I was okay. I have a lot of crap on my bureau, and I was looking for something, and I was rooting through it, and I found this, and I said, "Oh, I shouldn't wear that." It says something like, "I was there at the Xbox One X launch."
Oh, neat!
The fastest microprocessor in a gaming console.
The question is, did that lapel pin distract you then from finding whatever it was you were looking for in the bureau?
I forgot what I was looking for, but I did find this.
Good.
Thank you all for being here. Thank you, Mikah Sargent, for taking a Saturday off and coming in and joining us.
Yeah, it was a delight.
You'll find Mikah in many places on the network. Every Tuesday with iOS Today with Rosemary Orchard. Every Thursday with Jason Howell on Tech News Weekly. Every Saturday or Sunday, depending. I guess every Sunday here on Ask the Tech Guys. What else? What else is going on? Do we have a club event coming up? We had a great event with Daniel Suarez. The club got to participate in that. Upcoming events, Samable Summit will be March 2nd.
Oh, exciting.
And Ask Me Anything with Sam. The book club is in April. Sea of Tranquility is the book. Get reading. And one of our great editors, Victor Bognot. We're trying to do Ask Me Anything's inside twits, if you will, with all of our staff one by one, so you can meet the people who really make this all possible, people on the other side of the cameras. If you're not a member of Club Twit, I would like to invite you to join. It really is a great place to hang out. We really owe our club members. They make a lot of things possible. Ads have been a little slow in the last 6 months, actually since COVID. That's why we started the club. And so that revenue, that extra $7 a month, really makes a big difference to our bottom line. Keeps the lights on, keeps everybody employed, keeps the shows coming. There's some special shows you get as a club member. Nobody can't get any other way, like Micah's Hands on Macintosh, really great show about Macintosh. We've also got Hands on Windows with Paul Thurrott, the Untitled Linux Show with Jonathan Bennett, GizFizz with Dick D. Bartolo, all these special events we have in there. You also get access to our Discord. You get ad-free versions of all the shows, so you wouldn't even hear this little ad. They're all cut out. And the Twit Plus feed with things like, those special events and more, stuff that happens before and after shows that we don't put out as a podcast. If you're interested, go to twit.tv/clubtwit. Thank you so much for doing that. Thank you so much for the support of all of our club members. We love our club members.
We do.
I will be back in about a few minutes as we get ready for This Week in Tech. Have a wonderful Super Sunday. And we'll see you next time on Ask the Tech Guys. Bye, everybody.
Hey, I'm Rod Pyle, editor-in-chief of Badaster Magazine, and each week I join with my co-host to bring you This Week in Space, the latest and greatest news from the final frontier. We talk to NASA chiefs, space scientists, engineers, educators, and artists, and sometimes we just shoot the breeze over what's hot and what's not in space, books, and TV. And we do it all for you, our fellow true believers. So whether you're an armchair adventurer or waiting for your turn to grab a slot in Elon's Mars rocket, join us on This Week in Space and be part of the greatest adventure of all time.